is the fan upstate. How do you do? Upstate South Carolina. Good morning to you. Welcome in. I forgot to set up the stream. Everybody left. Don't worry. We're here now. Howdy. I need all of you to understand that, by goodness, I love basketball. Oh, it's so good to be back. Welcome back, NBA. Last night just chef's kiss. Lonzo, Zion Williamson played over 30 minutes of basketball, and guess what?
He didn't get hurt.
He didn't get hurt. Yeah. My goodness. Victor Wembanyama made his debut last night.
And lost.
It went okay. It didn't go great. It didn't go bad. It just kind of went okay, which, he's a rook. It's kind of what you expect.
And they were playing Luka.
Hey, guess what else? Luka's back, 33 in a winning effort for his Mavs last night.
Yeah, I watched like the last couple minutes because there's a replay on, and it looked like Kyrie was out there. That was weird.
And not only was Kyrie out there, but Luka and Kyrie were cooking a little bit last night. I'm going to tell you, it's not going to happen, but theoretically, in Mark Cuban's best world, if there's a world where Kyrie has, like, maybe for the first time surrounded himself in sage and got his life together, if Luka and Kyrie can stay on the same page, the Mavericks might have a little something.
Oh, wow.
Was that Barney?
Oh, wow.
No. It's from our service.
Okay.
So some guy just sits in there and reads that stuff.
Popovich last night looked like just the old drunk guy at the bar.
He's looked like that guy for at least 10 years.
Last night was something special. Because at least in the last, he kind of pushed the hair forward. Last night, it was just all scraggly and up. The beard is unkempt. Like, he is straight up DGAF mode right now.
So he looks like Bill Walton.
No. He made Bill Walton look like Bill Walton's not on drugs. That's what Pops looked like.
I don't know how that's possible.
I don't either. He showed up last night, and I was like, wait a minute. Greg Popovich looked like he was just on one last night. It was incredible. Oh, here you go. I'll throw it on the stream because I need Zoe. I need Zoe to experience this the same way that I did. All right? I'm just going to throw it up for a second. Look at that old guy. That's the dude at the end of the bar watching basketball who's like, these kids don't know how we used to do it back in the 70s. Back when I played. And for the record, I'm here for it.
You got the hand, the finger up to the lips telling some reporter to be quiet.
Oh, yeah.
That he's still speaking. Yeah.
Oh, you think I'm done yet? Now, somebody bring me another Jack and Diet. For the record, love Pops. Always have, always will. Luka Doncic with the 30-point triple-double to open the season last night. He is one of 4 players. Scratch that. He is one of 3 players to have an opening night 30-point triple-double. The only other 2 to do it, Giannis Antetokounmpo in 2019. Oscar Robinson did it twice in 61 and 66. NBA history, all teams, 3 players have gone 30-point triple-double. Luka's one, Giannis is one, and the Big O is the other one. That guy's pretty good. Ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to get to this later in the game because I am honestly kind of excited by it. Like, I'm kind of paying attention. The Charlotte Hornets got a dub last night, 116-110, and it wasn't just that they got a dub. They looked like a real basketball team last night. 25 out of PJ Washington, 24 out of Terry Rozier, 15 for LaMelo, and the Rook, Brandon Miller, 5 of 9 from the floor, 3 of 7 from deep, put down 13 points in 25 minutes. Now, I'm not saying Brandon Miller's going to be a star. I am going to say that the Charlotte Hornets, and I mean this as much as I've ever meant anything, the Hornets can be relevant this year. And by relevant, I mean fighting for a wild card spot. But I don't think anybody anticipated that. I thought this is about team chemistry this year for this team and nothing else. They have got the talent. It's not Giannis Antetokounmpo talent. It's not Luka Doncic talent. But if LaMelo Ball can be healthy, because I think he played, 30, 35 games last year, 38 games last year. If Ball can play 70 of 82, 72 of 82 without getting busted up, and I don't know if you noticed this last night. I did. LaMelo Ball's ankles have been a problem. Last night, dude had on braces, and that's the first time in his career I've actually seen him do that. Good. Because if that guy's healthy and can go, he can play. Not a great night like last night for him. 4 of 15 from the floor, 4-11 from deep, 3 of 4 from the stripe. He did toss 10 assists in and 6 boards as well. But if Ball is playing well, if Miller can really sharpen his game as a bench player, I'm going to tell you right now, the Hornets can be relevant. Last night, 116, 110 winners, and it wasn't over a nobody. It was over the Hawks. The Hawks are a above mid team. They're not great, but they're above mid. They have been a playoff team the last couple of runs, and Charlotte came out the gate hot. Lonzo, am I dumb for getting my hopes up?
I'm thinking we might be heading up the road to go take in a game like on a Friday night or something.
Oh, I'm really glad you said that because there's a little Friday coming up in December, the 15th, I believe, where Zion Williamson and his New Orleans Pelicans will be on the road at the Charlotte Hornets right up the road in the Queen City. A little Friday night shooty hoops with Z taking on Brandon Miller. Yes, please. Yes, boy. I'm all in. I can't wait. Was texting Keegan last night. I'm like, we got tickets. Like, we're getting tickets, right? This has got to be I haven't been to an NBA game in like 4 years. I've 4 years.
I've only been to one, and it was an exhibition at the Well. It wasn't the Well then, between Atlanta and Charlotte.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. It's busy.
How did that come about? That actually kind of sounds dope.
I believe it was Atlanta and Charlotte, and I got to take my uncle. This was like 25 years ago or something like that. And my uncle had never been to an NBA game, and I was working at another radio station. That's how long ago it was.
That sounds kind of dope, to be honest.
It was pretty cool.
I kind of don't hate that. I think I'm going to Charlotte, honestly. And I mean, yeah, I picked that game in particular.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Because Zion and the Pellies took a dub over Memphis last night. Of course, no Ja Morant on the floor because he's a what's the word I'm looking for here? He's a moron. That's right, because Ja Morant. See what I did there? Because his last name's Morant, but I made it.
Not even a stretch. Good job. Yeah.
I'm a professional.
If you did it in a British accent, it would have sounded better. Just a little suggestion.
Ja Morant.
That was actually haughty, the 1%er talk, but that worked too.
It's not just because Z and Brandon Miller and the boys are going to be dominant and win the NBA title this year, surprising the world. It's also because this Hornets team, it can be relevant if they're healthy. And that's kind of the big key, is if they're healthy. But if they're healthy, they'll be in the discussion. I believe that. Joey just texted and said, when you get your tickets to Charlotte v. the ATL, count me in. Well, that was that opened up last night. I might go see Charlotte on the road against the Hawks in Atlanta too. I don't know when that game is on the schedule, but I very well may go see Charlotte at Atlanta. Because I that's going to be my question, is this team being young, how's this team going to play outside of Charlotte too? So we'll see. We'll check it out. I'm excited about it. Good win last night for the Buzz. They end up 116-110 winners over the Atlanta Hawks. As I mentioned, because you all care. Don't tell me you don't. Z and the Pellies get a 111-104 win. It wasn't Zion's 23 and 32 minutes on 9 of 17 from the floor and 5 of 7 from the stripe with 7 boards and 3 assists. That was impressive. It was that Z wasn't trying to own the game. And I think that's in large part what has kind of messed with Zion the last few years is that he's tried to be the star. You're not the, I mean, you are a star, but you're not the star. The star of the show is Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, 19 on 7 of 18 from the floor with a cold stretch in the middle that you won't see out of him very often. You got 24 out of CJ McCollum last night, who was aces from deep, 6 of 11 from behind the arc. But I think to me, it was the fact that they played to Zion, not through Zion, as Jamie Tart Duke might say. That's a Ted Lasso reference. You're welcome. Anyway, they played to Zion, not through Zion. It wasn't like every time down the floor, put it in the hands of one and see what happens. It was put it in the hands of the dudes and let's open up the floor for that guy. There was a quick transition there in the second quarter against Memphis where Zion took it, drove baseline right from the top of the arc, went right, threw down a one-handed poster. Memphis went in transition, missed the 3. Ingram came up with the board, took it to half court, and here's what I love because I've seen this out of Z, but it's been relatively limited. But Z worked up the left-hand side of the floor, and he realized I'm alone. And instead of setting up at the 3 and calling for the ball to dribble drive with nobody around him, he just made a beeline for the rim. B.I. saw him, threw him about a 45-foot alley-oop that Z went up, brought down two-handed, and posterized the team, posterized the building. I love it, man. I'm so glad. Listen, we're going to talk a lot of college football today. We're going to talk a lot of NFL today. The Gamecocks have got a big problem because the injury room, the trainer's room for South Carolina right now is full, and there are a couple of names on it that could have an impact on the game this Saturday against the Colt. And, Lonzo, I completely forgot, we got a ton of chances to make fun of Texas A&M this week. We haven't even started that yet. That's on me.
You do know it's Thursday. I mean, so
I know we should have started making fun of Texas A&M Monday. That's on me.
You really don't like them. It's just, I mean, just
pump it up, Aggies. Woo! Clowns.
Check out YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and the X for Rob's expert cheerleading.
Freaking weirdos.
You're gonna fall off your chair.
They're weird, man. I'm sorry, Aggies. Like, I've met some Ags. They're nice people as individuals, but as a group, y'all are weird.
Did you ever see, I think it was Do the Right Thing, where it was about fraternities and they had to do a bunch of chanting and a bunch of things. That's just like a fraternity thing. You didn't have to do any chanting in your fraternity?
Not like they do. Not like those weirdos do. I'm sorry, they're weird. I don't know what to tell you.
We had to memorize a bunch of stuff. So, and that was like 1986. And I still remember if the phone rang, you had to get it before 3 rings and say, "Good morning. You have rang the hallowed halls of Zeta Phi, where winning has become a tradition, for which big bad brother doth the bell toll." And if you don't do that, you had to do push-ups. There are weird things in fraternity. And when I see those guys, that's what I think. It's just fraternity.
All right, I'm gonna tell you this. I don't have an issue with that. That's fine. You're answering the phone at a place. That's one thing.
It was on the 3rd story, and people would jump on top of people to get up there. So it was yes.
Like, that's one thing. I get it. Yeah.
So you never had to do anything weird like that in fraternity.
Because here's the thing: if I showed up and they were like, "Hey, we need you to put on overalls. We need you to go stand in front of the student section, and we need you to embarrass yourself as a person to be part of our club." Yeah, I don't want to be a part of your club. I don't need it.
That's kind of part of pledging. That's why when I look at that, I think
don't-
pledging. But these guys, I mean, I guess you volunteer to be in a fraternity, but that's what it reminds me of.
When I rushed fraternity, the first one that I was going to join, and I won't mention their numbers or their letters because it's not on everybody. First one I joined, I went through the entire pledge process. I got to their fraternity house. The initiation was they had your pin. You get your pin once you're in. You get the little pin to wear as a lapel. They put your pin on the ground on the far side of a tarp in the backyard, and I was like, all right. And they walked us back there, and they went stripped to the skivvies. And I was already weirded out. And while the pledges, of which there were probably 25, 26, most of them without question were just like, oh, yeah, no, room, backyard full of dudes who want me in my underwear. How can this go bad? And while they're doing this, all of the brothers in the fraternity circled the tarp, urinated on it, and if you wanted your pin, you had to slide across the tarp covered in drunk brothers' urine to get your pin on the other side. I turned and I walked off, and they're like, you'll never be welcome back in this house, to which I was like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be here anyway, you weirdos. You want to do some hazing? I actually don't care. Have a good time. I am not sliding through your whiskey-infused Jägermeister to be a part of your club, dude. I don't need it. So, no, I'm not going to put on overalls and stand in front of the room. Pump it up, Aggies. Stop being weird. Just stop being weird. If you guys weren't weird, I would actually like A&M. You little cosplaying dorks.
Do those guys get the girls? You think? The football players do?
Because the Aggie girls are weird too. I'm equal
All right.
opportunity smoke for the Ags.
Okay.
All right. My best friend from high school married an Aggie. Okay. Now, when you go to Texas A&M, which is not a military college, it's an agricultural school. They all dress like they're in the military. They're the Corps, the cadets. They're not. They're farmers. You're farmers. Just be a farmer. Well, I'm good with that.
Yeah, just wear orange.
Yeah. And so one of the things they did at the wedding was they, like, when you get into I think it's called the Corps Cadets or whatever, but you get riding boots. You get riding boots, and you wear those boots the whole time. They are like your whole identity is riding boots.
Riding boot, like
horse riding boots.
Horse. Oh,
like
okay.
the big tall boots that cover up your shin.
Oh,
big riding boots.
like equestrian.
Yes.
Okay. All
riding
right.
boots.
All right.
And at the wedding, she brought her riding boots, and in order to be allowed to join the Aggie family, which is what every cult calls themselves, my friend had to pour brewskis into the boot that she wore for years and chug the booze out of her boot that she wore for years.
Come on, we've talked about people like drinking that stuff out of a fish. I mean, what's the difference?
Listen, if it is your decision to do that, cool. I've done drunk things too. Have at. But when somebody goes, if you want to be in our family, you got to drink my beer out of my dirty ass boot. Yeah, no, I don't want to be in your family. We got to take a break. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. We got football to talk about. We'll do it next. This is the Fan Upstate.
QC.
There it is. All right, guys, quick live read out of the gate. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. All right, friends, family. Good reference, Trey. Joey B, if you would like to text me your guess, I will tell you if you're correct or not. But there's really 3 that I think are the primary guesses here, and it is definitely one of them. I keep thinking this commercial says raw cooking. And I'm like, isn't most cooking raw cooking?
I don't know. If you cook it, it's no longer raw. But I guess in order to cook it, I don't know.
All right, why no can get to Google Drive? Am I signed out?
We also would have to get, what kind of fish was it they were eating on the way? The Bushwhackers? Weren't they eating fish for some reason? I think the Bushwhackers were ate fish.
I mean, 100% do not doubt it, but I don't remember. I will not lick any foreheads, though, just so we're abundantly clear.
Could have swore there was fish involved, but I mean, it's been a long, long time. I'm watching some videos to see if I'm wrong. Oh, there's the licking of the forehead. Okay, now they're eating grass. I swore there was fish. There's popcorn. Sorry, now it's just repeating. Perhaps I'm wrong. I don't know.
Tuesday till October 31st. Only on the app at participating Taco Bell stores during breakfast hours while supplies last.
Last year, the Gaffney Indians ended the Burns Rebels season in a playoff game in Gaffney. This Friday night, the Rebels return to the reservation looking for revenge and an undefeated regional season. Hey, it's Rob Brown, the voice of the Burns Rebels, inviting you to join us this Friday night when the Rebels take on Gaffney with pregame at 7 and kickoff at 7:30. Burns Rebels High School football, powered by your local Eagles market and Founders Federal Credit Union on the Fan Upstate. 97.1 Spartanburg, 97.7 Greenville, and free on the Odyssey app. Listen on the Odyssey app.
Hey, I have a question, and I'll start with the great one. And this is genuine curiosity. At what point, Lonzo, does injury, number of injuries, length of injuries, severity of injuries, at what point in a season or a game does number of and severity of injuries become a genuine reason that you would look at a coach in the midst of a struggle season and go, he's off the hook a little bit? because that team was so banged up and bandaged to be held together that there was no way anybody could have done anything with it.
All right. I think if you cannot, like, say, if you cannot field an entire offensive line, if you have to move a tight end over to tackle because you don't have a full offensive line, other than that, I mean, maybe if you run out of quarterbacks, everything else, you should have an ample amount of replacements, whether they're quality or not. You still got some guys that can step up. But if you lose the majority of your offensive line and you have to get people to change positions to cover it, then I think I'd probably say that's a major problem, and I would probably let them off the hook for that.
So I wonder if we have gotten to that point with South Carolina, right? I wonder if we've gotten to that point. And here's why. We're going to be talking later on today with friend of the show, Emily Adams from the Greenville News. She covers the Gamecocks in depth. And I'm going to ask her the same question. As of right now, according to Shane Beamer, and we'll see if these numbers are good, but according to Shane Beamer, they do not have today 10 healthy offensive linemen on the roster. They don't have 10. Now,
I mean, if you only have 4, then that's different. But 10, that's enough for 2 offensive lines.
no, it's not. They do not have 10.
Okay, I
They don't have enough for 2
misunderstood.
offensive lines, yeah.
Okay, all right. So how many healthy do they have?
Somewhere between 5 and 9.
Okay, yeah, but still, so you've got at least 5 healthy to fill. That's all you need is 5 healthy,
So here's what Beamer said.
and it's mid-season. Who's healthy mid-season?
Yeah, and this is why I asked the question, right? And this is not being pedantic, but I think I'm kind of at the point where, and I'm just talking offensive line, we haven't yet got to the point where we've got to mention that Xavier Legette is questionable to play this weekend. Amarion Brown is doubtful to play this weekend. We know Juice Wells isn't coming back this weekend. Bro, their top 3 receivers are all out right now. They're going to struggle to throw the ball. Now, fortunately, you've got guys like Nick Harbor that have started to develop as pass catchers on the outside. But that's a true freshman wide receiver who's now your number 1.
I know this sounds mean, but it's realistic. What do healthy linemen for the Gamecocks mean? I mean, are they good blockers? Because they're not. So, I mean, yay, they're healthy. You still can't block. So, I mean, I'm glad you're at the pinnacle of your health. How about trying to stop that guy who's trying to get through and kill the quarterback? How about that? I mean, trip him if you have to. I don't care if you get a penalty, but stop him from almost dying every time he snapped the ball.
Here is where you run into a problem. The place you run into a problem is getting ready for that moment, right? Because it would be lovely if football was as simple as block that guy. But you played offensive lineman. I played tight end. We know it's not. There are a million different blocking schemes with a million different blocking assignments, and those blocking assignments can change 3 or 4 times on one play before the ball is snapped.
I get all that. But in the end, if you strip it all away, there's a guy coming across your face. You try to block that guy.
Not
If
necessarily.
you're not pulling, you try to block that guy.
I don't necessarily know that that's true. I had blocking assignments when I was playing, and again, this was high school ball, but I had blocking assignments where my blocking assignment might require to allow a guy to cross my face because it was either somebody was pulling around the outside to clear him out, or the running back would be stepping up to pick up that block, or we might be blocking right, but the play's designed to go left, and we actually want that defensive tackle. If he goes right, I am to allow him to go that direction, because if that fat guy goes over there, he's not chasing the running back or not catching the running back going left, right? So, yes, in an ideal world, block that guy is at its core what an offensive lineman does, but that ain't how it works.
What I'm saying, if you're not at least doing that, I mean, I forgot my assignment. Let me just hit this guy instead of, I mean, it's not like you look at the left side of the line and that's the weak side, but the right side, it's like weak everywhere. It just, how does that happen? you can blame it on coaching, and it is part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is effort. I may hit the wrong guy, but I'm hitting somebody.
I will go with this. Shane Beamer said in his teleconference earlier this week, if all the guys I mentioned is questionable, if they're not able to practice on Tuesday, we don't have a backup offensive line. Typically in practice, you have your first 5 and then your second 5. We don't have 10 guys who can go out there and practice. So there's an article up that was written by Jordan Kay of the State newspaper. And Jordan Kay points out that South Carolina is not a team that spends loads of time having their starters go up against a scout team. But you do, right? Everybody does. Everybody throws a scout team, and the scout team does what? The scout team goes out, and they are Mizzou or they are A&M, and they are going to spend their time learning the playbook of the bad guys, and then they're going to come out and simulate that offense so you get a look. They're going to come simulate that defense so you get a look. The problem that they're having right now is that there are not enough offensive linemen that are able to both be in the starting 5, the second 5, and the scout team. They don't have enough offensive linemen for the starting and reserve offensive line. So it impacts the way you practice, right? You can't go through the practice routine, the practice protocols that you've put together. You get to a point when your roster is so depleted that it's not just about, well, we got 5 and then we've only got 3 or 4 backups available in a game. On top of all of that, you can't wear your guys out in practice, because the more you wear a guy out, the more likely it is they get injured down the line. And at this point, there's no reserve. There's no well to go to if somebody gets banged up, right? So I look at an offensive line that can't field a complete backup offensive line. And yes, you are correct. They're also not that good across the front 5. But they're not that good across the front 5, and they've got nobody to go to behind them if those guys were to fall in a game. And oh, by the way, as we mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, Juice Wells is not coming back this weekend. Amarion Brown is doubtful to play against the Colt this weekend. Xavier Legette, who got an upper body injury against Mizzou last Saturday, is questionable at best. He was at practice but could not go. You are now looking at being down 3 of your starting, 4 wide receivers before you go to Texas A&M. And oh, by the way, that's a pretty good defensive backfield. At least it's a very athletic backfield back there. So you are going to be leaning, especially if Legette can't play, you're going to be leaning on an exhausted, banged up offensive line who does not have backups across the entire 5. And now Spencer Rattler will be without Amarion Brown, without Juice Wells, potentially without Xavier Legette, which means you've got Omega Blake, Nick Harbor, Tyshawn Russell, Eddie Lewis to carry the load. There has to come a point, and I don't know if we're there yet or not. I think everybody gets to make their subjective judgment call. But I am at the point where this game, look, we said preseasons, though. I think you agreed. This was one of those circle games of like, this game will be a referendum on Shane's team, right? If they can go to Kyle and they can knock off the Colt, if they can go Far Cry 5 and take down the Colt, that's a dork reference for those of you that are with Zoe and I. If they can knock down the Colt here, this is one of those moments that I think we can go, hey, taking a step. If they compete, put up a good game, maybe lose by 3 or 4, then we go, all right, we're about where we were. And if they lose this game, it's one where you go, all right, have we grown? But if you're going in there without 10 offensive linemen on an 85-man roster, if you're going out there without 3 of your starting 4 wide receivers, I got to tell you, not only am I pessimistic now about the outcome, but I don't think it is a fair judgment call on the Gamecock program if they lose this game with this many injuries on the offensive side of the football.
All right, fair or not, we've established, especially this week, that for me, it's wins and losses, and injuries are part of the game. I can't make an excuse for it. Like I said, if you can field the team, you should be able to compete, and they should be able to compete.
See, you know what I have? It's the same problem I have. You know what my least favorite phrase in sports is? Next man up. Next man up. If that guy goes down, next man up. Like, yeah, that's how a depth chart works. When a guy goes, the next man's up.
And if your recruiting is what it's supposed to be, and let's say you've like recruited in the top 10, top 15 for several years in a row, then that guy should be good enough to step in there. Maybe not at the level at the person who's a seasoned vet, but still they should be able to hold their own. They shouldn't go in there and look lost.
Let me ask you a question. Then we got to run to a break. If Marvin Harrison Jr. goes down to an injury in practice this week, are you the same offense with next man up this weekend, the Buckeyes? You and I both know you're not.
All right.
Right?
So the thing is with that, I know I'm wearing a Ohio State shirt, so it's hard for me to not be, but they have become wide receiver U. I would not be shocked if the next guy goes in there and catches 3 touchdowns. I would not. Look at the guys who've been through there. Olave, probably not good to mention him.
The Saints, dog.
Garrett Wilson. There's been a bunch of guys that are in the NFL right now, if they're not suspended or arrested, who are contributing and playing well. So I believe Ohio State, Alabama, there are a couple schools like that. Next man up probably could be the starter somewhere else.
You're right. Bad example. I should not go to a top 5 team. Let's talk about a team that's
all right. Let's go with
win team.
Okay, let's go with Clemson. All right, there was a time Clemson was able to do that.
Yeah.
Now they can't. And again, it comes down to
if
maybe
Bo Collins goes down right now, are they as good with next man up?
Probably not.
Probably not.
And it really comes down to, is recruiting the same? Is it harder to recruit now? Or are the people recruiting dropping the ball a little bit? Because the next guy should be pretty good. And there's such a drop off sometimes. It's like, whoa, what did they see in that kid?
I get what you're saying. I get the point. Yeah, and you are not wrong in that regard. But the whole concept of next man up, it's not how it works. That's not reality. If the next man up was just as good, they'd be splitting reps. You'd alternate and stay fresh. That's not how it works. So I think we're at the point where this is such a unfortunate set of circumstances for the Gamecocks that I'm kind of giving Shane a pass for the A&M game, because they're going to lose, and probably by 2+ scores. We're back after this. Is Clemson v. NC State now a must-win game for Dabo Swinney? We'll address that next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I sent you a video that's very wrong.
That's very wrong.
Yeah, but you
Okay.
should watch how well done it is.
Okay. Like that.
The skills of some video editors.
Wrong
are-
like the take is wrong?
No. Just what? It's a Harry Potter thing.
Oh, I got
Just
you.
watch a little bit of it. The few seconds you watch, the first few seconds, you'll watch the whole thing.
I just love the title.
The editing is good. Man.
Heading's foot. The Quidditch match.
Has Longbottom bought it yet?
Yeah. You're right. I can't not.
It's wrong, but it's so well
It's
done.
Hilarious, dude.
It's so well done. Yeah.
The nunchucks.
I'm going to have to watch it later with sound on
Uh-huh.
to see.
Yeah, I'm saving the rest. That's amazing.
So you think you're good with video, but
Then there's that guy.
there's whoever did that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody just, Lonzo found. Somebody, you just found that on the internet?
It just popped
Incredible.
up on my X.
Lonzo found and
feed.
sent me on Twitter a video where somebody edited out the wands and turned the wands in Harry Potter movies into guns. Spectacular.
including the shotguns and the
Yep.
Quidditch.
Yep.
It's just like, if I just had a little bit of that skill. What makes someone go, you know what? If we replace this with this, I guess that's art, I suppose.
I will qualify that as art.
Because it's not poorly done. Looks, at least on the smaller screen, like they're actually holding that.
Yeah. There were a couple of those that I'm like, that's genuinely good. Skrillo, what's up, big dog? Patrick, welcome in. Joey B, Trey, Jersey Joe, good to have you all.
Today, warm with partial sunshine, high of 78.
Weather brought to you by Express Employment Professionals. With nearly 20,000 job openings, Express Employment Professionals can help you find the right job, and Express never charges you a fee to find a job. Visit expresspros.com today. From the Ingles Market Studio,
State 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
So here's a question for you. If we would have started this season off, and I would have told you that by this point in the season, the North Carolina State game would be a must-win game for Dabo Swinney, what would your reaction have been?
I would have laughed, but like, there's no way. There's no way. As we know, I'm not a Clemson fan, but I'm also
You're not?
realistic. I know I'm realistic when it comes to football, mostly. And I didn't think the ACC had improved that much, and I didn't think Clemson had fallen that much. But I was wrong.
I don't think that before this season, in our previews leading up to the start of the season, if I would have said, hey, week 9 against North Carolina State University is kind of a must-win for Dabo, is kind of a must-win for Clemson, I think a lot of y'all would have been like, no, Rob, what we call that here is a guaranteed win. What we call that here is an auto dub. That's an auto dub for us.
You know, it's one thing for the fan base to think that, and I can see why they would, but did the coaches think that?
I can't imagine a world where they started this year off thinking that they were going to be fighting to not be a 500 ball club over halfway through the season, right? I mean, if they lose this game on the road, they go to 4-4, a 500 ball club. Texter on the madworldattractions.com text line just sent in a text that said, let me go find, of course it pops down as soon as I say it. Rob, Clemson can lose every game the rest of the year, and Dabo is good because of the two natties. Fan mad, ye school meh. Fan mad, ye school meh. I don't know.
It's pirate speak, I believe.
So
You're down with the abbreviations and the hashtags and
I don't know.
everything. I would think you would
I
just
don't
be
know. Fan
yeah.
mad, ye school mad.
He's a fan. He's mad.
Ye
Um,
Kanye guy, big Kanye guy.
Probably.
Yeah.
And he's mad at his school
School
for being so bad
meh.
because they're mid.
I guess.
So that fan is mad at his school for being mid.
So here's where I think you stand with this. I don't think you're in I don't think you're in a great spot. You're not in the spot you thought you were going to be in. You're not in the spot you want to be in, but I don't think you're in the worst spot ever, right? I think you're in a spot where the season is, I'm going to use the word salvageable, right? Because it's not good. This is not what you expected.
But by whose terms is it salvageable? We're talking about the team, not by the fan base. The fan base is already devastated.
9-3 will require wins over Notre Dame, North Carolina, and South Carolina, right? As well as NC State and Georgia Tech. That's 9-3. The problem is, and we talked about this last week or earlier this week, 6-6, Lonzo, is a legitimate possibility right now, right? And this is where I think the discussion gets lost for a lot of Clemson fans. It is not about a one-year record, right? It's not about a one-year record. It's about next year as much as it is this year. It's about next year and the year after that as much as it is this year. Because I think a lot of football fans think this is kind of like the NFL, right? An NFL team has a bad season. They can bounce back and be fine next year, but it's not, because in college football, things compound, and sometimes it takes a remarkable effort to turn it around. The reason that we are impressed with Mike Norvell at Florida State is because how in the crapper things were in Tallahassee and how much of an effort it is taken by Norvell and his staff to turn that franchise around, get them out of the dumpster fire and back to relevancy. It's a big ask. Going 6-6, which again is a possibility. I'm going to tell you right now, you lose to NC State on the road this week in a game that is, by the way, on the CW, a station that Dabo Swinney admitted yesterday he doesn't know what it is, not what channel it's on. He did not know what the CW is. That's where your game is this weekend.
Come on. Dabo's a secret Riverdale fan. He's into Riverdale. I mean,
Smallville guy.
We know. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Riverdale, though. Riverdale, I think is still hitting.
I have no idea what's on the CW.
Yeah. Well,
for a hot minute there, it was a pretty good little channel.
I stopped watching them when all the superhero shows went away.
Yeah.
But I do believe Riverdale's still a thing.
Sure. Never heard of it.
You don't know.
Dabs.
You know, Archie and Jughead and all this.
Is that?
It's
I'll just read the old comics.
Yeah, it's like a modern version.
God.
I said version. I didn't say the thing you think I said.
So, this game is not a gimme game anymore. NC State's defense, statistically, is one of the best 4 defenses in the ACC. All right? It is, I believe, inside the top 25 defenses nationally. Dave Doran's defense is good. Their offense is underachieving as hell. Lonzo, this game might end like 12-9. Honestly, unless Clemson's offense gets it together, this game could end like 12-9. If Clemson loses this game, this season is lost officially. You'll be 4-4. You will have 2 ranked games that you'll be dogs remaining, Notre Dame and North Carolina. And I think at that point, it'll be fair to say you're probably entering the game against Georgia Tech as a 3-point favorite, and the game at South Carolina probably even because of the fact that you're the away team. But what Clemson fans, I think, are doing here, I think they look at it and go, if we go 6-6, that's okay. We'll be back next year. That's okay. We'll have the talent upgraded next year. That's okay. We'll get them next year. But it doesn't work like that in college football because of, oh, by the way, South Carolina just lost another 4-star recruit that was part of this class. Why? Because according to his father, he came here to win. You are not winning, so we're out. Is that crappy? 1,005%. And that is as somebody who is progressive and sympathetic towards the players. That's a crap way to handle business. But it is the reality of college football now. And so if you end up in a spot where this season's 6-6, how many of those cats in a recruiting class that, by the way, isn't top 5, it might be top 20, like 15, 20 right now. How many guys look and go, ooh, I signed up to play for at least a conference championship thread, and this team's not even going to be barely bowl eligible. I'm out. This game is a mandatory must-win, cannot falter, because if you do not get this game, you will be 6-6 at the best.
It is also, if you lose this game, it's scapegoat time. And the question is, who will the fans blame? And in the end, it doesn't matter, but it does. Who do fans blame? Do they blame Cade? Do they blame Dabo? Or do they blame the offensive coordinator?
Well, fans of this show will not blame Cade, because I explained to you 2 days ago how this is not a Cade Klubnik issue, with the exception of the turnover.
There's a problem with Cade, other than the turnovers, and that's he's not Trevor. I mean, that's a problem, and he's not going to be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will agree with you that you're still basking in the light of sunshine. It's kind of like when you date that one girl that's really out of the league and then you move on, and you might find another quality woman down the line, but like you'll always kind of have that glowing sunshine. Even though she turned out to be a crazy psychopath, you'll always remember that one girl that was out of your league that you got to spend a little while with. That's Trevor Lawrence.
By the way,
Trevor has better hair than that girl.
He does. They turned on DJ. They'll turn on Cade.
I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah, I think because especially after last week, they have an ample reason to turn on him. And I think they turn on him.
Do you learn the lesson at some point where you look in the mirror and go, maybe it's us. Maybe we're the high. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
So that took you a while to get to that reference. Is your thing working?
Like halfway through? No, it's not.
Okay.
That's why I couldn't. That's why I couldn't
right.
go Tay out the gate.
All right.
I gotta wonder at some point if they listen. I statistically speaking, you don't miss on back-to-back 5-star quarterbacks. You might miss on one. Statistically speaking, you don't miss on back-to-back 5-star quarterbacks. So if you are looking at this and going, Cade's the problem, unless you were talking about his turnovers, which is understandable. I disagree, but is understandable. You're looking at this and still going, oh, this is on Cade. It's not.
If DJ would have went to Oregon State
and
sucked, it wouldn't be that. But he isn't.
Correct.
He's playing well.
Oh, and by the way, Cade's got better numbers than DJ statistically speaking right now. Just so we're all on the 100 train.
Who has more losses though? I would say it's Cade, right? So I'm just saying. Fan perception. We wanted this guy out of there. Look what he's doing.
He is 6-1.
This is the guy we wanted, and look what he's doing.
Yeah, again, it's always going to get under my skin, the wins and losses attached to the quarterback, and it's only on him. That bugs me, because if you're looking at this Clemson team and going, Cade's the problem, and I do think if you are attaching the wins and losses only to him,
the offense
that's what
is,
you're doing.
But the offense is the problem.
I don't disagree.
And so
the offense, is the problem.
the offense is the problem.
But there's 11 guys on offense,
and
that offensive line is Charmin soft, dude.
If they had last year's offensive coordinator, would they be winning?
No, it's execution.
You sure?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Execution.
All right.
100%. There's a reason that Strader was gone, whether they got Riley or not. We got to run to a break. Lonzo's got a sports flash. He's going to catch you up on some of the biggest stories in sports and make your ears feel all good while he does it. And then we're back for hour 2 of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Yeah, I want to make your ears feel good because you're going to say, at least I don't sound like that guy. The Charlotte Hornets opened their season with a home win over the Atlanta Hawks last night. P.J. Washington put in 25 points, and Terry Rozier added 24. Rookie Brandon Miller added 13 in 25 minutes off the bench. The Washington Post is reporting that the trigger to the investigation into the Michigan sign-stealing scandal came when the NCAA was granted access to a server owned by the Wolverines athletic department that contained information about signs of the opponents. There's no report yet on how the NCAA attained the access, which contained files managed by Connor Stallions. Our guy, Connor Stallions. We are your home of the Furman Paladins basketball and football. Check out Furman this weekend as they take on East Tennessee State, starting at 12:30 right here on the Fan Upstate. Didn't even notice that was busy. My bad.
Sports Flash.
Take Michigan down now, dude. Take them down now. Or at least take Harbaugh down.
Just Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, you know. So even with all this scandal and everything, did they stop using the information they obtained? I'm
gotta
talking
tell you, if that
I'm talking about if you're
Google Drive-
Michigan.
If that Google
Yeah.
Drive wasn't that, like, if they didn't take that Google Drive and just wipe it from existence, it's a clown show.
Well, you know, I have my opinion on that. But the thing is, the NCAA already has the information. So wiping it now, what's the point?
Yeah, that's true.
So you know you're caught.
Somebody's sitting in there with a notepad scribbling furiously.
Yeah, you know you're caught. You know you're in trouble. Why stop?
Ride that train until they
Yes.
get out of the playoffs.
Yes. I am not encouraging cheating, but if you got caught cheating in this way, you might as well just finish the season that way.
I'm not gonna lie, Jacob. As close as they are, I'm a bad local host because I have not kept up with Wofford this year.
They're not good.
Yeah, that's pretty much why.
I think you have a season like that every once in a while. It probably makes it worse seeing what Furman is able to do right now.
Yeah.
Gable's in first break.
Gable's in the first break. Yeah, I'm sitting on the verge of a sneeze, Lonzo. Is this a radio catastrophe?
Let the kid help you out.
I think I'd rather talk through the, that's where like the burn, like it burns, but it just won't happen.
So it's not the tickle, it's the burn.
It's the burn.
Just
perfect. I was fine the whole break soon as the music started. Ladies and gentlemen, hour number 2 with the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. It's so wonderful to have you. I came across a reality yesterday that I did not know was happening. So Monday Night Football was on Monday, which is a convenient night for Monday Night Football to be on.
It's very good labeling
Yeah.
on the part of their promotions
Hashtag
department.
branding.
Yes.
So I'm watching Monday Night Football, and you'll also keep in mind that there was an MLB Game 7 on that night, right? So I'm watching the game, and I've got the sound on the ALCS Game 7. Texas v. Houston. And we've kind of been having fun with the story that the Rangers have been getting mucho hyped this year by listening to Creed, right? So they're telling this story again because once something like this becomes popular in social media, the television networks are going to run it into the damn ground. Hi, Taylor. So they go to break ALCS.
Hey, don't you disrespect.
Sorry, Travis's girlfriend. The ALCS goes to a commercial break. The announcers are like, all right, it's 4-2 Texas. We'll be back after these breaks. And as they do, what bumper music do they use? Can you take me higher? I'm like, yeah, Creed. So they go to break, and I flip the audio over to the Monday Night Football game on the TV. And there is about to be a punt. And there's a punt, and the announcer on that game goes, all right, we're sitting right now. It's 10-3 Eagles. We're taking you to break. We'll be right back. And what bumper to the music does the Monday Night Football game use? Quite literally within 3 minutes of Major League Baseball using Creed's Higher to go to break. Can you take me higher? And don't get me wrong, more Creed is always good. I have currently My Sacrifice stuck in the head of the fiance because I've listened to it like 10 times in the last week and a half because it's a banger. So anyway, I'm watching this, and in yet another bit of evidence that Lonzo's maybe not so irrational fear of artificial intelligence taking over, because both games are on break and my show prep was done for the evening, I popped onto the Instagram for just a minute. And as I'm scrolling through Insta Reels, which are like 30 to 60 second videos that people can post, right? They're just short form video content. I come across a video, Zoe, that is posted by Creed Official, the official Instagram account of Creed. And I'm like, wait a minute. If there's a video from Creed Official and there's an official Creed Instagram account, that must mean that
It's really Creed.
it's Creed.
Yeah, it's Creed. It's, well, Scott Stapp, at least.
The video starts with a aged Scott Stapp opening a door and just saying it, looking ahead, hello, my friends, we meet again. And the camera turns, and there are the members of Creed all holding their instruments looking at him. And then the camera turns back to Scott Stapp, who says, it's been a while. Where should we begin? And then the camera turns back around to the members of Creed, and there is a former school acquaintance of Rob Brown's, Brian Marshall, the bassist of Creed. And when Scott Stapp says, it's been a while, where should we begin? Brian Marshall looks at him and goes, I don't know, dude, rehearsal? Which means Creed is reunited, courtesy of the Texas Rangers, y'all. So then I decided,
So this is real. This
Yes.
is okay. All right.
So then I said, let me peep the official Creed
This
Insta.
better not break up Alter Bridge. That's all I'm saying. You know, because
I mean, you just add Scott Stapp to Alter Bridge.
no. Alter Bridge, a much better band, more hits,
Literally,
I believe.
it's just
Yeah.
Creed.
No, it's not.
It's just Creed without
not.
Scott Stapp.
It's Miles. Yeah.
So I go to the Creed Instagram page, and what do you know, Zoe? But going out of Miami and Port Canaveral, Florida, on a 5-day cruise to Nassau, Bahamas, is a Creed cruise, not one, but two of them. The first one sold out in minutes, which was a cruise with the reunion of Creed and Three Doors Down. To which I was like, 100% I'd be on that cruise, but it's already sold out. And they said, we have one more Creed reunion cruise leaving Port Canaveral in April and going to Nassau, Bahamas for a 5-dayer. Would you like information? And I said, yes. And I clicked on it, and it's Creed and Daughtry. And I was like,
Don't you diss Daughtry now.
I'm going to diss Daughtry. All right. I'm going to diss Daughtry respectfully as I can. You know what Daughtry is? Daughtry is for middle-aged moms and dads who want to still pretend that they got it and they're still, dude, we're totally rockers. You listen to Daughtry.
By the way,
Daughtry is
Daughtry's
the
first
rock and roll
Daughtry's
of
first album
minivans
was
everywhere.
killer. Daughtry's first album was killer.
It's not killer.
It was.
Okay.
It was. And you know how many years ago that was?
Yeah, that's why he's on a Creed reunion cruise.
Okay. All right. So Daughtry being on it made you go, nah, never mind.
Yup. I'll wait for the stadium
That's-
tour because they'll
that's-
be on a stadium tour.
Rob, do you know how old you are? You're approaching middle age. I mean, depending on.
Yeah, but I still got it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Daughtry, if you want to listen to rock while you wait in the school pickup line. Daughtry.
I don't know why I'm offended, but I'm offended.
Because I'm right.
Yeah, but
And it
I'm
hurts because
Dude,
you can't say I'm wrong.
I am beyond middle age though. I'm like elderly. I mean, I'm barely getting by here. I mean, stuff's falling off. I mean, look at the video. I think it's because of how he got his start. Because he was on American Idol that it's bothering me.
Daughtry, the official rock and roll of waiting outside of karate class.
Wow.
Daughtry, the official
Wow.
rock and roll of I need to stay up because my kid needs cupcakes for the bake sale
So
tomorrow.
I'm gonna give you Creed. Okay. Creed definitely rocks harder than Daughtry, but
Yeah.
three doors down.
I just said I'd have gone on that one.
Yeah, but you're saying they rock harder than Daughtry.
Yes.
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 I think they're right there. I think they're on the same level.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time late for the water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
You hear that?
even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It actually says so now. Rob hates kids, old people, and Daughtry. No, I don't hate kids or old people.
You know, Daughtry is the equivalent of Tim Tebow in rock. That's what it is. That's why he doesn't like him. That's just, you could just see Tim Tebow up there singing
Tim Tebow.
Daughtry songs.
I like Tim Tebow.
Can't you just see that though? Yeah.
Item number 1, the Charlotte Hornets opened their season with a 116-110 win over the Atlanta Hawks at home last night. In this game, rookie Brandon Miller came off the bench. The forward put down 13 points on 5 of 9 from the floor, 3 of 7 from behind the arc. His first NBA points came on a 3. He also had 3 boards and a pair of assists. LaMelo Ball, 15 points, 4 of 15 and 4 of 11, had 6 boards and 10 assists on the night. The double-double for LaMelo, all scores led by PJ Washington of the Hornets. He had 25 and 32 minutes on 12 of 18 from the floor, just 1 of 6 from deep. However, 5 boards, 2 assists as the Hornets open up 1-0 on the season. Y'all pay attention to this team. I think there's a little something cooking in Charlotte right now. It's a young team. There is going to be some adversity down the pipe, but I think this team could be a wild card threat. We're going to keep an eye on them all season long. Item number 2. Item number 2.
See,
the water cooler broke.
Yeah, no. I was looking at the stream, and when people agree with me, I get distracted.
The NBA All-Star Game the last couple of years have featured the draft format where, let's say what it is, LeBron and Giannis Antetokounmpo drafted teams from an available pool of all of the All-Stars. That will not be the case moving forward any longer. When the NBA All-Star Game heads back to Indianapolis this year, it will go back to its original format. They will feature an Eastern Conference team and a Western Conference team comprising 12 players from each conference. This change will end the draft format that has been going on for 6 seasons. Team captains will be determined through fan voting of the 5 starters on each team. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said yesterday in the announcement that, quote, the theme this year is back to basketball, end quote. Silver said, quote, we're looking at some potential changes in format, maybe a return to something more traditional in terms of how the teams are presented, and that is the direction that they are going in. We will also return to a traditional 4-quarter basketball game. You know, the last couple of years, they've played 3 quarters, and when the 4th quarter started, there was no clock. It was basically, there was a target score set that I believe was like a dozen points more than the team in the league had, right? So if you were up 100-90, the final score would be 112, and the first team to get to 112 would be declared the winner. I thought it was an interesting format. I actually kind of like the draft idea because you got to assemble a super team. But I also want this game, despite the fact that the draft format was fun, I do kind of like the concept of guys having to play with who they have to play with as opposed to who they want to play with. It got real awkward late in the draft, like any schoolyard draft does, when you got guys still sitting on the page knowing they're going to be the last pick. It's a little weird. It was a little awkward to look at. I'm okay with it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It just is what it is. Item number 3. Rarely outside of the World Series is a baseball story going to make the water cooler cheat sheet, but I think that this not-so-young man has earned a spot as item number 3. Dusty Baker entered Major League Baseball in 1967. He exits Major League Baseball in 2023.
That's longer than I've been alive. I was born in 68.
Man.
Exactly.
Dusty Baker has been in baseball longer than you have been in Earth.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. 26 seasons manning dugouts for the Giants, the Cubs, the Reds, the Nationals, and the Astros. And this season, there were rumblings that Dusty Baker might call it a career based on the outcome of the Astros season. Of course, the Astros would make it to the ALCS, though they would eventually be downed by the Texas Rangers. This comes a year after Dusty took this team to and won the World Series. Dusty Baker said, I've still got a lot to offer. Baseball has been my life. I have a lifetime of knowledge, much more than those who have never played the game, quote unquote, but he will do so in either a consultant's role or the role of a fan. Baker joined the Astros in the immediate wake of the cheating scandal. You'll remember that led to the exit of A.J. Hinch. The problem for Dusty is that the Astros changed managers and not much else. Some players like Carlos Correa ended up going elsewhere. You had a couple like Jose Altuve who stuck around. The problem, it was not so much the players. The problem was that the office stayed the same. You stuck with the same GM. You stuck with the same coaching staff. They were all Hinch's guys. Dusty was brought in because Dusty's a wildly likable guy. And in the wake of the trash can banging, the Astros needed a way to revamp the image. The Astros were going to every ball club in Major League Baseball and being booed and laughed out of stadiums. They just needed somebody to come in for a couple of years as a manager that everybody liked and hold that at bay for a little while. Dusty did not just do that. Dusty showed up and won a World Series in the process as well. He was a rehabilitative manager. I don't think he was a manager expected to win anything, and he did. He took the Astros to back-to-back ALCSs. He won a World Series. He got bumped by a team that I think is going to be favored in the World Series this year in the Texas Rangers. Love this guy. Love Dusty Baker. I have never interacted with him directly. I know a bunch of people in the game who have, and I have never heard a cross word about Dusty Baker outside of the Chicago Cubs, but they hate everybody, so it's fine. Dusty Baker, 26 seasons and a couple of world. By the way, there are 6, I believe. There are 6 players that have won a World Series as both a player and a manager, and Dusty Baker is the most recent. Good on him. Ladies and gentlemen, there's your water cooler cheat sheet. We take a break. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, we are going to go in depth into both the Clemson and the South Carolina. Got into another world.
Sorry, stream.
Time and
You
time
can't hear it.
again. Hey, yeah, yawn. At sunrise, I fight to stay asleep. Because I don't want to. It's just such a banger, man. Now at this goal, I'm just trying to talk us to the bridge. So let's go. Oh, I was too excited.
Yeah, now we just need to go to break.
All right. When we come back, we will break down the Clemson NC State game and the South Carolina v. Texas A&M games. That's next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Can you take me higher to a place where blind men see? Can you take me higher to a place with golden streets? Oh, we had a, yeah.
By the way, Jacob, I was not offended. I know I'm older. People don't know how old I am unless I tell them, and I'm having a blast in radio.
Weird thing. Oh, here you can do
And then, as if the morning couldn't get better,
that. You get a full creek karaoke.
yeah, after that, Chris is in the room. I mean, you know,
It's not the end of the world.
No.
But
I understand that this
Weird
is
that
a.
it's happened twice.
I don't disagree. I understand that this
the
is a
end of the
personal
world
preference.
as we know
What
it.
is
though.
that?
Yeah, that's not good when the engineer gets on someone's computer and goes, "What is that?" Please don't hit the TV. Dude, you are so close to the TV. Yeah, from here, maybe my depth perception is off, but it actually looks like you're about to bust Chris in the back of the head on the camera. You should.
Because it's like,
I think the real question is, why does Odie have that? And why is it well worn?
he's from Oilerland.
Yeah, but I mean, is that just a although if you're running from the Irish Mafia, maybe you have that with you.
I
And
can
it's-
tell you, like
That looks like
as melee weapons go.
Yeah.
This
So-
looks like it'd be a real good one.
So compare that to a cricket bat. I'd rather have that because that has reach, and it has a hook on the end of it.
That is just as long.
Ye-
Cricket bat's about as long.
Well,
I know
it's been since 1986 since I got hit with a cricket bat. So
more dynamic for the swing.
I'm sorry for being wrong, Chris.
You got a broad-
Now I'm just going to have to look up the hurler lengths and cricket bat lengths. We have 1 minute. 1 minute. That's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah.
It's variety.
I mean, you catch a temple even from behind with that, possibly. All right, go ahead and tell me how I'm wrong. I think you could. I think you could do it.
My zombie apocalypse weapon of choice has always been
Shovel. Yes.
a shovel.
Yes. Which I.
I
Which
should say melee. My weapon of choice would be like a Buick, but
the shovel still. I mean, you got me on that. That's why I remember that. It's a good one. 15 seconds.
Okay.
You're still in his chair. It's talking sports with Chris. Sweet.
Anyway, we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you. Those in the stream, just stay tight for just a second. I'm coming right back. Don't worry. All right.
Chris Dunn broke it.
Chris Dunn broke it. We are going to get into some. We're going to get into some footballs here. We got Clemson, NC State coming up this Saturday, and I mentioned earlier in the show, I really do think this is must-win football now. Like, I really do think this is a game that Dabo Swinney has to have. It is no longer an option, to be honest with you, because I think that you are at a point now where if this game is an L, a 500 season is very much a reality at this point. Dave Doran's Wolfpack is a good defensive team. They are top 4 in the ACC. I believe they're like inside the top 40 defenses overall. It's not it's not Ohio State's defense. It's not Penn State's defense. But it's a good ACC defense. This game is at 2 p.m. The Tigers are 2-1 in day games so far this year. And let's get to the very first thing. And I know that this is cliche. I know you are looking for more in-depth analysis, and we're going to get to that here in just a minute from now. But does this game not feel like it basically comes down to stop turning the ball over? Right? Against
That
Miami.
that would definitely be a good start, I'm thinking.
I mean, I think honestly, it is the number one thing, man. It's the number one thing. Don't turn the ball over. Go back to that Miami game. 3 turnovers in that game, 2 fumbles out of the backfield. The Tigers were under 30% on third down conversions, and they allowed Miami to convert third downs at 50%. That's going to lose you football games way more often than it's going to win them. So I don't know what the key is, to be honest with you, because it's not like you haven't run the don't fumble drills so far. Our coach, Bobby Moore, when I was in high school, Lonzo, he had one of those big, like American Gladiator jousting sticks, you know?
Those look like they would be fun. Not to be on the receiving end,
Correct.
of course.
He popped one off the end, so it was just a stick with a very thin pillow on the other end. And when you ran the ball, he would just, whew, I mean, you caught it. You caught one. So I don't know if the secret is like do that a lot of the times over and over.
Or do that thing where you make Cade, carry the ball even while he's going to class and have people try to take the ball from him.
Here's a problem. You can say Cade, but Will Shipley has put the ball on the ground. Phil Maffa has put the ball on the ground. This is why, and I've said it a number of times, this is why I think we can now say coaching is the problem. Because is it an issue for Cade? Of course it is. But not just Cade. If there should be a guy on the team that you can trust with ball security, it's got to be your running backs. Above all else, those have got to be the guys that you can trust to take a shot and not put the ball on the grass. And yet those guys have done it more than Cade. I go back and I look at a couple of the turnovers so far, right? I have told you a number of times. I think if FSU does not get that scoop and score touchdown, which to me happened when it was either a missed block by the running back or Cade was looking the wrong way, doesn't really matter at this point. That game's well behind us. But Cade got wrecked by a free sprinting blitzer off the blind side who destroyed that young man. The ball went to the turf. FSU brought it back for 6. And I genuinely believe if that play does not happen, Clemson is winning that game. That was a 14-point swing because Clemson had been moving the ball and I think was en route to a TD or at least a 3-point drive. And instead it went 7 to the Noles in a game that went to OT. If that scoop and score doesn't happen, we're not having this conversation right now. Miami. If what I think one of the fumbles was fine. The other 2, I think you take either one of them back and they win that game against Miami. We're not going to overtime, right? The only game that I don't think you can say turnovers are the reason that you lost is Duke. Duke just played. Duke just got you. Duke was just a better football team that night. The Florida State loss, the Miami loss, both of those L's were preventable L's that don't get taken without the turnovers. The problem is, now that we know that you have got a extreme case of fumbleitis, you know what NC State's defense is going to be doing, Lonzo. They are going to be punching the football like they are Bruce Lee.
You should be doing that anyway. But in this case, you bring a little more fervor to it because you know that they had a propensity to drop the ball.
I think so. The concept of punching the football,
I know that was a complex sentence. I won't do it again.
I liked it. The problem with punching the football, I had a defensive coordinator who used to tell us to pick our spots to punch the ball.
I mean, that peanut punch, that thing works in the NFL. It will work everywhere.
I had a defensive coordinator. You're not wrong. I had a defensive coordinator who told us once to pick our spots in punching the football. And the reason was not because it doesn't work. It very clearly does work, or else people wouldn't do it. But the reason you pick your spot is because you can sacrifice integrity of a tackle by a punch, right? Because in punching the ball, you are removing one half of the grabbing apparatus required to bring a guy to the turf.
Or just use your helmet. I mean, so then you don't have to punch. I mean, the optimum way of tackling, you're putting your head to the side anyway. That's the way you don't get called for spearing or something. So just make sure you place your helmet on that ball if you can.
It's a nice thought. But despite how hard-headed you and I are, your head is never going to generate the same force as a swinging fist, right? So you want to punch the ball, but you don't want to sacrifice the integrity of the tackle for a low percentage punch out. Our punch outs were if you're running a guy from behind, you punch up through the arm. If a guy is coming straight at you and you can punch into the ball in a way that if you miss or he doesn't drop it, your arm is still wrapped up. Think about the punch and how it makes sense. But we also got told if there's a running back who has a propensity for putting the football on the ground, punch him like he owes you money.
All right. So back in my day, I do believe RPOs hadn't been invented yet. So in your day, did you have RPOs? Because I wonder if there's a statistic out there that shows whether fumbles have gone up thanks to RPOs. Because how many times have you seen that exchange where that quarterback puts the ball in there and tries to bring it back out and it ends up going on the ground?
Oh, it's an art. It's an art for sure. But here's the thing. I look at the fumbles for Clemson this year. I think there's only been one or two that have come on the exchange. The majority of them are running backs just running the ball or Cade getting hit from the blind side with an unsecured football. Now, I'll tell you this. If I'm Dabo, I'm telling Cade, hey, until you are dropping the ball to throw it, two hands, my guy. Like, I want you holding on to that thing like it's a gold bar. Two hands. Do not let it go. Dave Doran's Wolfpack defense, up front specifically, is aggressive. They're coming for the ball. They want the ball. They are going to try to force turnovers. I think you've got to take advantage of that. I think I want to see a lot of misdirection this week. I want to see Clemson. I know it frustrates a lot of you because there have been some tough spots where it feels like the bubble screen has been a comfort device as opposed to like the right play in this moment. I think I'm going a ton of screens this weekend. Bubble screens.
Wait, they're still doing bubble screens? I thought that went out with Tommy Bowden because that's what he got in trouble for all the time. Can't they run anything other than a stinking bubble screen?
Listen, I covered Florida State when Jeff Bowden was their offensive coordinator. Every play was a bubble screen.
Okay. All right.
It was hilarious.
All right. It's a family tradition.
There was a guy I was at a game with, a Florida State game that I was covering, Jeff's second year there as the OC. And this guy brought a twister board to the game. I'll never forget this. And the twister board, instead of, the feet or the hands and the feet and the dots, instead the twister board had bubble screen, power run, and whatever the other play that Jeff kind of fell in the loop was. And before every play, this guy would spin the twister board and see what play it landed on. It correctly predicted Jeff's play calling at 31% one game. You understand? 1 in 3 times, a twister board would correctly predict a play call.
So what you're saying is Stallions could go to that game and call it a day early.
Yeah.
Just
spin the twister board.
Yeah. Okay.
And call a defense for whatever comes up, and 1 out of 3 times you will have gotten the right one. It was ridiculous. Anyway, put that aside for a minute. A lot of screens in this game. I'm talking running back screens out of the backfield, slip screens, middle screens, bubble screens. Throw them all. Throw them all. Misdirection is the name of your game. I'm looking play action. I'm looking draws, right? I would love to see a couple of Shipley and Maffa draws, providing they're not dropping the ball, right? Get Cade to take a shotgun snap, pull the ball up, look left, right, and then just hand it off and let them go up the middle because the pack is coming, man. They are going to be super aggressive in this game. And if they are, let them get close and then just go where they ain't. It'll work.
I am really curious, as a Clemson fan, if it comes down to the wire and it's in Cade's hands, are you holding your breath? after last week.
Am
Are
I
you-
the only one that does not believe that Cade Klubnik is not a bad quarterback?
I didn't say he was a bad quarterback. I'm talking about the decision making that he made last week,
Oh,
and then you got to believe that that's not the first time, and that it's worked other times. This time it didn't work to the point where they lost a game.
the leash for Cade Klubnik's about this long this game, right? About that long. Not because I think Dabo's going to go to him and be like, dude, no freestyle in this game. I think he is going to be afraid to. So if I'm Dabo,
So
I'm Garrett Riley,
if he's playing afraid, then he's not. Then he's going to be afraid to audible. He's going to be. I mean, this could be a problem
No,
mentally.
I think what you're doing here, and this is how I would approach it if I'm Garrett Riley. I think what I'm doing here is I'm giving Cade a menu of options to pick from, knowing that he's not going to go off script. So instead of going, I want you to run this screen, I'm going to go, I want you to run this screen. And if you see this look, this is your audible. And if you see this look, this is your audible, right? I'm going to give him freedom to make adaptations on the fly for the offense, but I'm going to give him the options so that he does not feel like he is only locked in to just do what Garrett said, just do what Dabo says. I want him to feel comfortable, to have the opportunity to have a couple of other options that he can lean on and into, where I am kind of freeing him up until I see that he throws a couple of strikes. He finds a couple of guys down the field. He makes something happen, and we build that confidence back up. Because there's no way that guy's confidence didn't take a ding after the Miami game. There's no way it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, just him answering questions, he looked
Oh,
devastated.
it looked broken.
And he should, because he got thrown under the bus by his coach, you know? And should he have been?
Did Dabo handle that the wrong way?
Ah.
By just outright saying it? Like that was a handoff. We don't know what he was doing.
I think he did, because I think what he should have did was say, hey, it was an RPO, which is a you've got to make a decision as a quarterback, and sometimes you make the wrong one. That's what I would have said, instead of basically that's not the play we called.
If that team was 5-1 in that game, you think he does that? Do you think that was maybe a moment where Dabo's like, look, on one hand, I could lie and say this is an RPO and protect Cade Klubnik, but because I've already now lost 3 games and people are starting to question me, I need to make sure my hands are clean, even if it costs my quarterback his confidence?
Or it could be more about, this kid is stubborn. He needs to learn a lesson, and now this should be the lesson learned.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll do the same thing for South Carolina v. the family, the Colt. They're on the road down there in Kyle Field, Texas A&M. Yeah, talk a little Gamecocks, Aggies, South Carolina fans. You're not going to enjoy this. It's next up on the Fan Upstate.
I sent you a picture on Twitter. You will enjoy it, especially, yeah.
Twitter?
Yes.
That's good work, too.
At EasyCater, we know ordering food for work can get complicated pretty fast. We're gonna need breakfast for the entire office on Thursday. Janet wants really nice bagels. Make sure some are gluten-free and they have great coffee. Janet has a hard stop at 9:30. I'm looking at itemized soups for days. Company breakfast? Just use EasyCater. Food for work delivered on time as ordered with a huge variety. 100,000 restaurants, one platform. Order 24/7 at
Someone just posted breaking news: Virginia and North Carolina, FSU, and Clemson plans to exit the ACC after 25-26.
Of course.
I have,
Who says so?
I have never heard of this person before. So,
Sources.
yeah.
Remember when they were going to leave last year and then they were going to leave this year?
Yeah, I think I heard that right here on this
And
station.
then Clemson
So-
found a lawyer who got him out of it.
Yeah,
and
'cause,
nothing's
you know.
come of that, and now they're going to leave next year. And I'm going to go ahead and predict a spoiler here. I bet somebody is going to say that they're going to leave the year after that.
Is that like, the world is going to end in 2026 and, gather a bunch of people together who believe it and then it doesn't happen? Or whenever the next eclipse is. I think it's like in April.
Lunar or solar?
I think
After the total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024, the next total solar eclipse will be August 23rd, 2044.
No, but there's one on 2024. That's what that
April
hasn't.
8th of
yeah.
2024, the total solar eclipse will be available or will be visible over Arkansas, the very western portion of Tennessee.
I was hoping it would be the Creed cruise because,
I mean, could you imagine listening to my sacrifice under a solar eclipse?
yeah, I mean, they just time it perfect right as it goes. Yeah, yeah.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the fan upset. I couldn't find the right beat to jump in on.
Okay,
I was
that,
waiting for that right there.
that looked like ice cream freeze or something.
Yeah, it was totally a brain freeze. I'm like, there's a
Yeah.
beat in here somewhere that I get to start talking and it's going to click. Where is it? But then the drop never took.
I was worried it was a Mitch McConnell moment or something. It's like, man, we might need to go back to break.
South Carolina Gamecocks are on the road, sitting on a 2-5 record, taking it over to Kyle Field, where they'll take on the Colt. The Aggies are 4-3, and they are double-digit favorites this weekend against the Gamecocks of South Carolina. And I'm going to be real upfront with you. I'm taking the Aggies to cover in this game. Okay? I just am. The Aggies have 3 losses on the season. The first loss was back in week 2 when they fell to the Miami Hurricanes. That game was on the road. 48-33 is your final. We have found out ever since that Miami ain't great, but they ain't bad either. They won 3 in a row, including a 17-point victory over Auburn and a 12-point victory over Arkansas. Then they had back-to-back ranked games. They were at home against an upstart, weird way to say it, Alabama team. They lost that game by 6. Then they had to go to Neyland Stadium. Some folks in the area know all about how difficult it is to win at Neyland Stadium, taking on the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee won that game by a single touchdown. This week they return home. They're back at Kyle Field, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, South Carolina fans, you will not enjoy this. This will not be a fun weekend for you, all right? I am taking the Ags to cover. I don't particularly think it's going to be that close. Now, it's not because A&M is just so superior talent-wise to South Carolina. It is because of 2 reasons. Number one, they are better talent-wise. There's no disputing that. A&M talent-wise is better than a lot of people. That is why, reason number 1, this is a coach for your job game for Jimbo Fisher. The Aggies could theoretically probably be 5-2 right now, and it would be a little bit more quiet amongst the Colt members. That loss to Miami was a big deal for Jimbo Fisher because Miami is not a powerhouse. They're on the way up. They're trending up, but they're not a powerhouse yet. If Jimbo was just dropping L's to powerhouses, Alabama, Tennessee, I feel like he'd probably be in a little bit of a better spot right now. But he was not expected to lose that game. The Aggies are 4-3. They've still got a ranked Ole Miss team ahead of them. They've still got a ranked LSU team ahead of them. This team could be 7-5, 6-6. They could be 8-4 when it's all said and done. But they did not expect 8-4. They expected 10-2. They expected 11-1. And why wouldn't they? They've had very good recruiting classes the last couple of years. They've done as good, if not a better job with NIL than anybody in college football. And oh, by the way, Jimbo Fisher's getting paid like $1 billion frickin' dollars to be the guy. Because the Aggies didn't listen to me when they hired him, and I said, he's not the guy you think he is. He's not. Jimbo Fisher's winning percentage when he has a player on his roster named Jameis Winston is like 92%. Jimbo Fisher's winning percentage when he does not have a player on the roster named Jameis Winston is like 65%. And they're paying him $1 bajillion to do this. Here's the thing. Jimbo Fisher would like to keep this job, I think. I mean, I also think he'd be fine with the buyout because the buyout's like $80 million. But I think he would like to keep this job. I think he would like to keep this job and hang on to this job for as long as he can until either A, the money dries up with Texas A&M, or B, until another big school somewhere decides that we can fix him. We can get him a Jameis, and we can recreate what he did with the 2013 Florida State Seminoles. You can't, but have fun trying. This is a coach for your life job for Jimbo Fisher. This is, for the Aggies, a must-win game. I think for South Carolina, there are some fans that are looking at this as it being a must-win game. For Shane Beamer, it's not. It's not a must-win game. I asked Lonzo back in hour one, and we got some Gamecocks in here. My dude, famously Garnet, showing up in the chat. To me, this is subjective, but to me, you have reached a point with the Gamecocks where this roster is so bandaged and held together with popsicle sticks and hot glue that I can't use this game as a referendum. We know Juice Wells is not back yet. We know that Amarion Brown is unavailable this weekend. That's 2 of your top 3 wide receivers. Xavier Legette is questionable at this point. If XL can't go, who are you throwing the ball to? Nick Harbor is a wonderfully efficient physical specimen of a freshman. But I don't know that he's got R1 experience ready to go yet. And what has been the thing that has kept you in the games that you have been in? Spence popping off. Yeah? Spence popping off. Except for 3 of his best 4 weapons are unavailable this weekend. Even if Xavier Legette plays, he's obviously not going to be 100% because he is questionable on Thursday. The game's on Saturday. So even if XL can go, he's not going to be himself. And oh, by the way, you don't have Amarion Brown on the other side to at least serve as a distraction. You're going to have to go tight end heavy. Trey Knox is going to have to be a big part of the game plan this weekend. The problem is, I don't think it matters. Your offensive line is not even too deep at all 5 spots. You need to be at least 2 deep at all 5 spots. You're not 2 deep at all 5 spots, which also means that you likely have not been able to put together a good, solid week of practices to get ready for this one game. Famously, Garnet popped in. He said, it is going to be a rough one. Facepalm emoji. Yeah. A&M to cover -10. It might get closer to 2021. I I can't use this game as a referendum on Shane. There are things that you can utilize in the run-up to the game as a referendum. I would use recruiting depth across the offensive line. That's a major problem. That is something Shane's going to have to address down the stretch. Why is your up-front offensive line not very good? And more importantly, why do you not have depth to make changes and rotations? Good chunk of it is because the injuries are just stacking up one on top of the next. But at some point, and I don't know where this is. I don't know where this line is. I think it's different for everybody else. I think everybody's got their own line in the sand. But to me, there comes a point where quantity and quality of injuries becomes a reason that you cannot win. I understand that in an ideal world, everybody would be good with the next man up philosophy. But that's not how it works. That's not reality. Some people are very good at things that the average person is not. And if you get a couple of superstars, they are superstars for a reason. If next man up was a thing that was real and true, there would not be superstars. We call superstars superstars because they cannot, you cannot replicate what they do. They go above and beyond. And you know what else we call superstars? Starters. Guys we rely on, guys that we trust, guys that we need to make plays. You know, I asked Lonzo a little while ago, I said, hey, if Marvin Harrison Jr. went down, would Ohio State's offense be the same? And the best you can hope for is maybe, because they're a blue chip school that loads up on wide receivers. But the answer is right now, this Saturday, if he went down today, this Saturday, no, they would not be the same, because nobody has gotten in to do the things that Marvin Harrison Jr. can do, because Marvin Harrison Jr. is doing them. And you're not going to take the risk of, let me give that guy a spell and put in the next guy because he might be as good as Marvin Harrison Jr. You don't find out in week 9 of the season. That's something you find out in camp. That's something you find out if and only if that superstar goes down to an injury. I hope South Carolina, through these injuries, I hope there is the silver lining of a dude or two that steps up. Maybe there's a D2 transfer in. Maybe there's a true freshie somewhere who got to burn the red shirt because you're just out of jerseys, who steps up and you go, oh, damn, we found a dude. But realistically, we know those guys because they are the exceptions, not the rule. The Gamecocks are not only, unfortunately, not that good, but they are not that good and they are dinged up. Texas A&M is going to cover that -10, and it is the 5-star lock of the week. Now, Garnett said, I heard XL practice yesterday, so I think I'll play tomorrow. I don't know about yesterday's report. I do know Tuesday and Wednesday he has been at practice. He has been at practice, but not going at 100. So, I don't know. You know what I do know is that coming up at 8:40 a.m., we'll ask Emily Adams of the Greenville News. So we'll stop by to talk a little Gamecock football with us. 8:20, Rashad Beard will be on to talk Carolina Panther football. And then at 9:20, it's Thursday. And you know what that means. Time for Fight Club with a great one. That's all coming up. But before we get to any of that in the next hour, Lonzo is going to give you a sports flash, and he's going to do it right now.
It's like faking the throw. He's just waiting for the intro.
Audio draw.
It is. That's exactly what it is. The Charlotte Hornets opened their season with a home win over the Atlanta Hawks last night. PJ Washington put in 25 points, and Terry Rozier added 24. Rookie Brandon Miller added 13 in 25 minutes off the bench. After 26 years as a manager, Astros leader Dusty Baker has called it a career. The Astros won the World Series with Baker at the helm last year and were in the Final Four teams this year. Baker managed the Giants, Cubs, Reds, and Nationals, and is one of only 7 people to win a championship as both player and manager. Make sure you tune in tonight at 7:30 for Thursday Night Football as the Buffalo Bills take on Tampa Bay Buccaneers on your home for the NFL. It's us. It's right here. It's the Fan Upstate. Come on, computer. Let's go. There we go.
It changed how I'm living. I'm able to do the things that I wasn't able to do for a long time.
Get back your life before the pain. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. It's the last blast of summer sale for the Upstate Golf Cart. For a limited time, grab yours for just $40 and get access to 9 premier courses in the Upstate. Tee it up in Carolina Springs, the Preserve at Verde, the Club at Footstone, the Rock, Greer Golf, Windsor Triad, Bowling Green, Pebble Creek, and more. Grab your foursome and hit the course with the Upstate Golf Cart. Order yours today at upstategolfcart.com. $40 for a limited time only. Get yours now while supplies last. Upstategolfcart.com. That's upstategolfcart.com. Mad World Haunted Attraction is now open. Voted South Carolina's #1 haunted house and one of America's top string parks. Located in Piedmont off I-85 and exit 35. Buy your tickets now at madworldattractions.com. Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. After Halloween.
Yeah, we talked a little Hornets yesterday or this morning. 116, 110 over the Hawks. Good window open, man. Brandon Miller looked decent off the bench. You love to see that. A little depth for the Buzz. Something they have sorely lacked the last few years. I went to get a water and forgot to. I'm going to do that now.
Those stomach issues ruined your birthday. You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa. Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
Because when you are with me, I'm free.
It's time for Cody Junction by passing the torch. The team at Curian's Welding was fused together solid. That's wrong. We're in some early shifts. But double retirements mean the crew must bond with some certified new hires. We've both gone the extra middle year. Indeed can help them hire great people fast. I mean, indeed. Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates, and you can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, football fans, this is Cole Bryson. Are you ready for the ultimate adrenaline-packed high school football experience? Tune into the Fan Upstate every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 for the Saturday Morning Scramble. You'll get the latest scores, insight, and exclusive interviews with star athletes and coaches. Plus, I'll be broadcasting live from your local Ingles Market all season. The Saturday Morning Scramble only on the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and on your phone on the Odyssey app.
Powered by Founders Federal Credit Union. The Fan.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC Greenville.
W249DL Greenville.
Yeah, they were so.
TV Spartanburg.
I appreciated the fact that they were running through the paint, that they were playing inside out to open the floor up, which is why LaMelo ended up with 10 assists in the game, which I love to see. Underappreciated part of his game.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the third of 4 hours starts now. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. We have been discussing this week at length the Michigan cheating scandal. And yesterday, the Washington Post dropped a little information on us, as they said that the investigation into the Michigan cheating scandal began when somebody at the NCAA received access to a drive maintained by the Michigan Wolverines that had just all of the information on it. They just had a spreadsheet, I guess.
So earlier, Chris had to come in to fix Rob's computer, and he sit down and was like, "What is this?" That's what I was thinking. The NCAA got access to the computer and went, what's this?
I don't think they're supposed to have any of this.
Like, let me open this file.
Let me start with this, because I saw this discussion going on in social media yesterday. Technological advances, to me, have been incredible over the past 10 years, right? I mean, just look at the advancement in smartphones. Let me tell y'all what happened. Real quick story from yesterday. On Tuesday night, I emceed the Habitat for Humanity Dinner on Ice Gala that was held at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena. It was an honor and a privilege. We raised over $130,000, and somebody donated $30K. Zoe, you'll love this. Somebody donated $30K to Habitat, and in return, they made Andrew Lord, the head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, do a 60-second interpretive ice skating dance to Let It Go from Frozen.
How'd he do?
Amazing.
Okay, all right.
It was incredible.
Any triple Lundy's?
No.
Or anything? Okay, all right.
No, because he had a game to coach literally tomorrow night. So he's like, nah, I can't go popped ACL with Elsa as the reason. Anyway, I brought the old tablet of truth because I now run my entire life through this device. My calendar, my schedule, show notes, information, appointments, it's all kept right here. And why wouldn't it be? This right here is the equivalent of like briefcases back in the 50s, right? Everything about a man used to be in a briefcase. Now, it's all on this little device. And unfortunately, because I am an irresponsible moron, at the end of that night, I set my tablet down somewhere as I was shaking hands and kissing babies on the way out the door.
All right. There was no baby kissing. We know who that is over there. Yeah, he doesn't.
So anyway, I got up Wednesday morning. I went to get the tablet of truth to start throwing the showdown onto it and realized, I can't find it. I left it. So after the show yesterday, I had to go tablet hunting, but I didn't know where to start. I called Mark Shelley. He dug through the Swamp Rabbit office. They couldn't find it. I called the Bon Secours Wellness Arena security, which is who runs the Lost and Found. I'm like, anybody turn in a tablet? They said, no, couldn't find it. I'm like, crap. Somebody done rolled off with the tablet of truth. Now they know everything about the show. The secret about how to produce a multi-award-winning radio broadcast is now out there somewhere. So anyway, somebody said, well, did you try pinging it with your phone? And I was like, what? They were like, did you connect it to Google? I was like, yeah. They said, well, go on to the Google thing and ping it, and it'll tell you exactly where it is. And I did. And when you know it, it's still at the well. And it ended up helping me hunt down the tablet of truth. Technological advances are wonderful. They make life easier. You can be scared of them if you want, but it's how the world works now. Well, I think when people hear there was a drive maintained by, they get the image, though, of like a big computer mainframes.
I get the image of Hillary Clinton, but that's just in her basement. Yeah.
And that was it. Like everybody gets now. Obviously, servers are a physical thing. A computer server is a physical structure, but they're not these giant basement-wide computer mainframes like out of an early 90s sci-fi B film. I mean, they can be. Like, we've got that, but that's because we're running 7 radio stations around the clock, around the calendar. Most of them they look like a computer, right? And then there's a drive, which is operated on a server, but it's not a tangible thing. It's not a real thing. I can access, we have a Google Drive for the station. All of our show prep, all of our notes, all of our sounds, it's all on this Google Drive, right? And the reason that we and most radio stations have flipped to a Google Drive is because you can access it anywhere. I can get on any computer and get access with the correct credentials to a Google Drive that allows me access to everything I could ever need to operate this show. And frankly, anything I need on the radio station itself.
Yeah, we've gone from 20 years ago, 9/11, when that happened. We were in the old building, and in order to have every radio station going through ours, they had to rewire.
Yep.
And now you don't have to do that. We can run every station
From
through
any computer.
Yes.
I can jump on. I never
I
will.
can do my entire job from home.
Yep.
I am told that I could actually run a board from home.
Yep.
I don't want to do that.
I can be anywhere with any of you at any point, jump on my tablet, go to the Google Drive, and I can do anything I need to do on this radio station.
I mean,
it's impressive.
And the fact, we're live on stream on 8 different places right now. So, there's technology is an amazing thing, but then there's still people who think that they can hide things or not hide them.
Yeah, you can't. So this is interesting in that a drive, in the sense that we are talking about it with this Michigan thing, means effectively, in this case, it was a file. They just had a file on a drive, and somebody gave it to the NCAA, because usually a drive like that is going to be encrypted, or it's at least going to be, password protected. And I assume that Connor Stallions didn't have the password or Wolverines, right? So somebody that had access to this drive, more than likely, although this is speculation from yours truly, had to go to the NCAA like, psst, psst, hey, look at this, and turn over the contents of that drive to them. And what we have learned is that Connor Stallions had, according to sources, what he referred to as the Michigan Manifesto.
So they're on there and they see a file that says Connor Stallions, and they go, all right, this person's hiding porn. Because that name, like that's that create a porn
Is
name.
hiding or acting in.
Yes. So that's why they clicked on the file. Now, if he would have named it something mundane, that would have been different. But Connor put his name on it, guaranteed.
You could have literally named it signs we picked up from other teams, and I would have been less likely to click on it. Connor Stallions, doctor / pizza delivery man / fireman / office worker / boss. Anyway, somebody gave this to the NCAA. Somebody was like, yo, the NCAA needs to know about this. Gave that file. And apparently, from what I read yesterday, this was like a 500-page document that included a few things. Number one, some of the signals that they had learned over 30 games and 11 Big Ten opponents. But they also learned that it wasn't just Big Ten opponents, Lonzo. In fact, they had also purchased tickets, Connor Stallions and co., to watch the Clemson Tigers at the time that Clemson was projected as a potential playoff team. They had also purchased tickets to watch the Tennessee Volunteers last year when they were projected to potentially be a playoff team. They had purchased tickets to a number of schools outside of the Big Ten that also could have ultimately ended up being opponents of the Michigan Wolverines in the playoffs had they gotten matched up. So this is like an epidemic for Michigan. It's like a big deal. Here's what I want to know above all else. Who gave the NCAA access to the drive? Right? Like, who did that? Because you got to assume the number of people who had access to this drive had to be wildly limited. It had to be wildly limited to like Connor Stallions, maybe a coach or two, but
I don't know. I'm reading things that the entire coaching staff had access to.
I'm not saying they
it,
didn't.
So,
but even still, even if it was the entire coaching staff, it would only be the coaching staff, right?
The NCAA requested to look at this stuff. So if you say no, I mean, the thing is, you're cheating. Find a way to hide it better. I mean,
Like I said, I've got to assume the call came from inside the house. Somebody from inside, I'm guessing, I'm speculating here. Somebody inside of the house had to have tipped the NCAA off to the existence of the drive and provided access, because existence of the drive is different than access too. They can ask, hey, can we see this drive? I am unaware, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but I am unaware of any regulation in place, any protocol in place by the NCAA that would necessitate Michigan definitely give them access to this drive. I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't think that exists.
I could recuse myself from this whole segment because deep thinking is what Michigan is known for. Duke of the North, that's them.
Duke of the North. It's a good nickname. I like that. Anyway, this whole thing's wild.
Yeah,
dude.
Duke doesn't. They probably don't want to have anything to do with this.
Not right now, they don't. Not right now, they don't. This is wild. So the Washington Post reported yesterday, and they sent out a tweet, that the investigation threatening to disrupt Michigan's football season began after an outside investigative firm approached the NCAA with documents and videos the firm said it had obtained from computer drives maintained and accessed by Michigan coaches. So there was an outside investigative firm that found out about the drive, got documents off of it, brought those to the NCAA, and then said, you need to look into this. Now, listen, it is unshocking that every football team would have a drive where they keep intel on opponents, right? It is not the fact that they had a drive with intel on the opponents. It's that this is where the info about the buying of the tickets and all that went. And then some super sleuths in the public eye started combing through the Venmo transactions of Connor Stallions and started finding ticket purchases. And that's when this thing grew legs. I got to be real with you. I'm fascinated, dude. Like I said yesterday, it's CSI Ann Arbor. Enhance. So good. Speaking of so good, we got to run to a break because it is going to be so good in the next segment to be joined. That was a terrible segue. I'm sorry I said it. By Rashad Beard, the host of the Panther Nation podcast. We'll talk Carolina ball with him next. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. And this is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Texter said they must have forgotten to go to a TCU game. OH.
That's got to be true. I mean, and that could be their defense. Look what happened to us against TCU.
Yeah.
How can we possibly be
All right, guys, we're going to step out for just a minute and get Rashad on the line. We will be back in mere moments. Do not go anywhere. What's up, dude?
What's going on?
How we doing, fella?
Good. All's
Good,
well.
man.
All's well.
$100,000 with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver, or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may qualify for compensation. You could be
I'm doing Pilates.
after accepting your settlement with your VA benefits.
I don't know what that is, but is Pilates like jazzercise?
No, Pilates is like stretching.
Okay. All right. So I was doing Pilates. It's part of why I'm standing over here.
And I've never done it before, but I've also never jazzercised. So
Because you weren't alive when it was invented.
yes, I was. Again, we just talked about the fact that I am very old now. What's the workout routine for Rashad Beard? You a gym guy? You a basketball guy?
Nah, I was in the gym up until like the summertime.
Yeah.
And then I kind of fell off. But I'm not too active. And I got to get back in the gym.
You just a eat right kind of guy?
I don't eat right either. I just got a good metabolism. Yeah,
You son of a.
yeah, I got a good metabolism. My dad is skinny too. He's got it's in the
It's
genes.
it's a family thing.
Yeah, it's in the genes.
I come from a family of fatties, so I just can't win. It just is what it
Yeah.
is.
I gotta eat right though. I gotta eat better. I've been doing that the past couple weeks, so hopefully I can maintain it.
You feel like you feel better when you eat right?
Yeah, you definitely feel it for sure. The fatigue goes away.
So when you weren't eating right, what were you eating?
Oh
do you
man, all
consider
kinds, just fast
eating
food,
bad?
man. Fast
Okay.
food. Yeah, I'm a fast food guy. I quick to stop at Chick-fil-A and chicken
Top three.
sandwich. Yeah, top 3. Well, what do we consider fast food? So Chick-fil-A's got to be.
Top three. You're driving home right now.
I think if
you
it
got
has a
3 spots to
drive-through,
stop.
if it has a drive-through, it's kind of
Okay. So Chick-fil-A, shoot, I don't know, man. Zaxby's is good. I don't know what else. Last one, it's really between those two, really, for the most part.
Yeah, I probably have Zaxby's once a week, so I
I'm
get that.
gonna see you as Zaxby's and raise you a Popeyes.
Okay, Popeyes is Popeyes and Bojangles, yeah, those two for sure. We don't have Popeyes like really around here. I mean, there are a few,
Yeah.
but you gotta like go to them intently.
Yeah. Closest one to my house is like 30 minutes away, and I will absolutely drive, which is why I'm sitting at 240 right now.
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest.
You're stretching on this one.
No, I'm not. It's a James Bond
No,
song.
I know it is. I
It's-
even know which one it is.
Just chances are neither one of you guys were alive for
The
this, but
Spy Who Loved Me.
yeah, I mean, she says it in the thing.
Rashad Beard, the spy that we all love, is here to talk a little Carolina Panther football on a Thursday. What's up, big fella?
What's going on? Happy to be here. A stress-free bye week with no Panthers football to stress out over. So I'm good. I'm in a better mood than last week.
I'm not mad about it. Listen, the Saints took their L because we couldn't punch our way out of a wet paper bag if we had to on Thursday. Carolina was off on Sunday. Your boy popped in the car up to Asheville and just went drinking for the day. And it was the most pleasant Sunday I've had in like 8 weeks, Rashad. It was nice.
Samesies. Yeah, absolutely. Stress-free.
All right, let's talk a little bit. And obviously the big story right now is Thomas Brown taking over the play calling. Look, I have said I don't think you're going to see from a casual perspective a lot change. It's not like the playbook's changing. It's not like Thomas Brown's bringing in some more plays and changing it up. I do think you will see from a perspective of diving in, Rashad, a couple of different things. I think you will see, and I hope to see, more pre-snap motion, which I think is huge in a diagnosis of a defense for a quarterback. And considering BY's game is to see, evaluate, and break down the field, that's big. And the second thing I think you see, and I've been calling for this all season, you see the team on the ball earlier in the play clock, more time at the line to look and read and move, etc. I really think those are the two big things that change, and I do think they will help Bryce Young. What's your take on the play calling switch and what it does for the offense?
Yeah, I think you're gonna see, like you said, I think the pre-snap, you want to see some guys in motion. You want to, put the defense in conflict. I don't think we've done that too much, and so I want to see that. I want to see Thomas Brown get the best out of what he has. One thing about the Rams and McVay, I mean, you talk about the guys that they have. You talk about your Cooper Kupps, and these guys come out of nowhere, right? The other kid that's just balling right now. I want to see, can Thomas Brown bring some of that to Carolina and get the best out of what he has, right? DJ Chark is underperforming. Can he get more out of DJ Chark? Can he get more out of Mingo? Can we see some nuance in the run game, right? I feel like the run game has been very underwhelming. It's just straight inside zone dives. Like, I want to see some mixing up in the run game. Get outside, get on the edges, get on the tackles, outside runs, some better, more screens, or not more screens. Excuse me. I want to see some different types of screens. I just want to see us dictate to a defense instead of us being dictated to, right? And so that's the biggest thing I hope to see out of Thomas Brown and this offensive change. I think it's good for the better, and hopefully, it can't get much worse. So hopefully, only go up from here.
All right, I don't usually ask serious questions of Rashad, but trade deadline is Halloween, so we won't see you between now and then. Who's leaving?
That is a great question, and we talked about this on our show on Tuesday. And I think you got three choices. I think Dante Jackson should be on that list. I think Terrace Marshall, who already requested a trade, is probably on his way out the door. And I less likely probably Jeremy Chin, because he's injured right now. He's on injured reserve, so I don't think you'll see him traded. But I think I think the Eagles were taking a look at him before they made their trade, and obviously with him being injured, that takes him off the board. Less likely, even less likely than that, Brian Burns. I don't think he's going anywhere. Obviously, the reports were out yesterday that he is not on the market. So that's good news for me. I'm a big Brian Burns guy. I'm a fan. I don't think we should trade him. But yeah, I think you're gonna see the Panthers move a guy like Terrace Marshall or Dante Jackson. I think it's almost 100% certain.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm going to throw one more name up there, and it's one that is going to make Lonzo recoil in disgust, but I'm going to say the name because I think it is a position that has seen increased value the last couple of years. It is a position that you are not getting out of the guy. His fault or anybody else's, you're not getting the production out of the numbers that you pay the guy, and I think there's a big market for this position. I think Hayden Hurst, as much as I'd hate to let him go because you just brought him in, and a tight end should be a young quarterback's best weapon. The fact is you're sitting on, I believe, like 7 yards of passing off, being sarcastic, but not that many yards of passing offense out of the guy that you are paying top tier tight end money to. And I think there are teams, including the Bengals, who are looking to add tight end weapons. I think at this point at 0-6, Rashad, you got to be aggressive sellers at the deadline, specifically of guys that have big cap numbers, because resources are more important unless it's a dude that is going to be with you for the next few years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Hayden Hurst is interesting. I do not think the production is matching the pay like you're mentioning. So I'm not opposed to that. I do think we need to get better at tight end. For sure. And here's the thing. You're right. We do need to become sellers, right? We do need to get the assets. We need to clear the books a little bit. But the downside to that is, the draft picks, right? We have not been able to draft very well over the past couple of years. So while we have these picks, it's all fine and dandy. It sounds great. But if you take a look, it's, we don't know who is going to attribute to those draft picks, right? It may be a Matt Rule thing. But if you go back to 2021, 2022, those drafts, if you look at them, they look terrible, right? They look really, really bad at this point. So we've got to get better at drafting for sure. But you're right. We got to clear the books and get draft capital back so we can support Bryce Young.
Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. You mentioned a minute ago, I want to go back to something you said in the first part of the conversation, and that was creativity on the offensive side of the ball with Thomas Brown behind the playbook. And I think there is good news in that coming from a Sean McVay system. I mean, Sean McVay is known for his not just creativity, but his ability to see the field in ways that other coaches can't. And that is something that is difficult to replicate, but it is something you can learn from. My question is, what creativity looks like to you? Because you know what the playbook looks like. We've been seeing it. The big complaint is that there has been no creativity. So if we next Thursday, when we get together, do say we looked more creative with the football on Sunday, what does that look like to you?
That's a great question. And this is a quote unquote copycat league, right? And you see what Miami's doing. I know we don't have the horses that they got. We don't have the speed that they have. But you look at what Miami's doing with the creativity with the screens, the getting the guys football in space and letting them work. And I just feel like, we got the answers to the test in front of us. This is a quote unquote copycat league. It's like we continue to fail on purpose, right? You have the cheat sheet right in front of you. Just take a look at what's going on around the league. And I just feel like, man, we got to be able to stretch the field. I want to see us kind of loosen up those safeties in the back end. Like get DJ Chark. Oh, speed guy, bro. We got to get him out there. I want to see a couple deep passes. We don't have to hit Thielen a million times. He's great, and I feel like he's a safety blanket. But let's try to spread the football around a little bit more. Let's get some more guys. Let's maybe activate Tariq Cohen, right? I don't know if he's ready, but getting a guy like him as a running back, being a slot guy, that's interesting as well. Let's and I don't know where Chenault's going to be looking like either. I know he's injured right now, but I would like to see more of a Deebo Samuel role for him. So I think we got to play chess with the guys, with the personnel that we have. And again, I just want to see production at the end of the day. I don't want to see a million halfback dives right up the middle. Like, we've got to get creative with the run game, get out on the edges. And hopefully, man, listen, I don't have all the answers, but I just hope to see some production at the end of the day.
Rashad Beard joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate for a few more minutes. One of the things that, and we're going to talk about this later on in the show, but I want to throw it at you first, Rashad. One of the things that I am going to caution Panthers fans, one of the things that I'm going to beg of them is, please do not fall into the trap of thinking that this matchup with Houston, BY v. CJ, is a referendum on BY versus CJ. They are on different teams in different situations with different setups, different coaches, different personnel. If you look and go, CJ's team scores more points than Bryce's team, that just means it's over. You're setting yourself up, I think, for long-term disappointment. I understand it is easy to look at two guys playing a game against each other and go, this proves one is better than the other. Please explain to people, Rashad, that that's not true. I'm begging you. Help me out here, bro.
Hey, listen, it sounds nice. That sounds great. But, and I came up here a couple weeks ago, I believe, and said, if you look at the talent around CJ Stroud, every position is better. The offensive line, everything's better. Tight ends, wide receivers, everything is better. Right. So, yes, technically, you can't look at this game and say, hey, Bryce or CJ is going to be better than Bryce Young if they win. Right. However, the fact of the matter is that there's no doubt that if we lose this game, it's going to be a complete implosion, because I told you so's are going to come out the woodworks and they're going to say, hey, I told you we should have drafted CJ Stroud. He's much better. He looks much better. And unfortunately, that's going to happen. I mean, it's going to. It shouldn't, but it's going to, and we have to prepare ourselves for that reality if we lose that game on Sunday. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Yeah, it's going to be bad, man. It's going to be bad.
I do have one prediction, Rashad, and I am taking Houston to win the game. Houston's a 500 ball club that has had some games they probably should have won but didn't. If that happens, and I hope I'm wrong. Listen, I would love to see Thomas Brown take over. We're utilizing pre-snap motion, getting on the ball faster. You mentioned more creativity. I hope all those things happen, and we wake up on Monday and go, damn, Frank should have handed the controls over earlier. But if that doesn't happen, we get a good game and they end up losing. I predict you and I are going to be two of the most frustrated people on planet Earth next week because it's going to be nothing but the Lonzos of the world telling us how they told us so, that CJ was that dude, as if you don't have to take into consideration the guys around you, because it's not two guys in a boxing match. It's 22 guys playing a team game.
By the way, real quick, let's go back to the summer. Rashad said CJ was that dude too. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I did. I was a CJ Stroud guy all the way up, basically probably about 2 or 3 weeks before the draft. Once I got word that we were drafting Bryce, I kind of switched just to support my guy. But I was a CJ Stroud guy throughout the entire process. But anyway, I do think, listen, I think one positive aspect to this is that, Frank Reich in his career is undefeated coming off the bye. So, and again, I don't know if that's going to apply here, right? There's some differences in those teams, right? So there's some positives to look forward to.
Frank Reich, and the fact that he ain't won a game yet for the Panthers.
Why do you keep saying he like he's the only dude in a helmet?
Yeah,
there are freaking 22 dudes that are starters.
We're talking about Frank Reich. He's still.
I know.
He's still.
Yeah. So listen, I'm hopeful. I think the offensive changes are going to help. I think there are going to be some things that aren't going to be on film, and we're going to catch Houston by surprise on a couple of things. So I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be much more competitive. And listen, we got to celebrate Julius Peppers and Muhsin Muhammad going to the Hall of Honor. So listen, at the end of the day, you lose, we still win. We still win because we get to see Panther greats on Sunday.
I got to tell you, man, as a Saints fan, there's like a couple of Panthers that I hated playing but loved them. Kuechly was one. Steve Smith one. Bro, Moose was a guy. Moose was a dog, Rashad Beard.
Yeah, he was. And so was Pep.
So was Pep. All right. I don't need to sit here and commiserate. Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. Make sure you are searched to and subscribe to their YouTube channel. What you guys got coming up this week?
I will be at the game, so will not be live streaming. We may do the preview for this game. I got a shout out to a young Ari Gold, who is the YouTuber for Houston, Texas. We link up with, so we may do a preview, may not. I'm not sure. But yeah, just stay tuned, subscribe, like, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff, because you never know when we're going to go live.
Love to hear it. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube at Panther Nation podcast. Big dog. Talk to you next week.
Peace out, guys. Thank you.
But later on, that is Rashad Beard. When we come back, Emily Adams of the Greenville News talks South Carolina Gamecock football with us. It's next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Opened up the NBA season last night with a win, 116-110 the final over the Atlanta Hawks. PJ Washington had 25 points. Rookie Brandon Miller provided a big spark with 8 of his 13 points in the fourth. Terry Rozier added 24 points for Charlotte. LaMelo Ball shook off a rough first half.
All right, dudes and dudettes, we are going to step out for just a minute while we get Emily Adams lined up. Let's see. Hilrod cheered for Roman Harper when he tried to cheap shot Steve Smith and got beat down. First off, all fans are heels. All right. You can't be a fan and not be a heel. That's just kind of hand in hand. Second off, Steve Smith was he was a different level, just a different level. All right. We're going to get Emily on the line. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Do not go anywhere. Thanks. All right, we're back, y'all.
That phone does it's the phone system. It's not
Yeah.
just a phone because it does it in other. At least I know it does it here and it does it in Word. And line 2, you just need a hammer half the time. When you go to line 2 here and over there, I would. Yes. I prefer Mjolnir. I will hit it with Mjolnir and see what happens. Also known as Meow Meow.
Yeah, man.
Happy quarter zip season, by the way, everybody. Yes, I am wearing one.
Okay, because
And I'll be
Chris
wearing one tomorrow.
Chris and I are not. I'm just wearing a long sleeve shirt. So, but I don't think you can wear that and wear this because.
You can. I go.
All right, I can't because I have an unusual amount of hair on my arms and it.
So I took it off.
Yeah, there we go. 20 seconds. Just come in with I can alert you when we're going to our next break if you want.
Did you ever get the thing back from that guy?
I gotta say, I'm lost there. My mind's going a bunch of places.
The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Alonso with you on a beautiful Upstate Thursday AM. We now take a trip on yonder down the road to Columbia, South Carolina, and that is where we find beat writer for the Greenville News, who covers the University of South Carolina's athletic department. She is the ever so wonderful Emily Adams joining us here on the show. Good morning, Emily. How do we do?
Good morning, Rob. Can't complain. How are you?
I can't complain either, but it's primarily because no one would care if I did, Emily. That's just welcome to journalism. What a week for the Gamecocks. And I got to jump right in with talk to me about the injury situation, because we're kind of hitting critical mass with injuries to the point, Emily, that I asked a question this morning, like how many injuries and how bad do the injuries have to be before you can almost give a pass to a head coach because you're working with a mash unit and backups primarily? Have we gotten to that point with the Gamecocks right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to argue that we're not there. I mean, when you look at this weekend, obviously, we'll probably get another injury update tonight from Shane's radio show, but, potentially all 3 starting wide receivers could be out. You have up to 3 starters on the offensive line who could be out. And that's just people who started last week. That's not, taking into account the full scope of the injuries on the offensive line. I think we're up to 11 now who have had an injury designation at some point since the start of the year. So it's just wild, and Shane said it in his press conference Tuesday, that he's never seen one position group this affected in all his years coaching. And I can't really remember seeing it, in watching football. So yeah, it's just a really bad situation, I think, for them right now.
The offensive line, I heard Shane, I think in Sunday's post-game press conference, talked about the fact that they're at a point where they can't even field 2 offensive lines in practice right now, right? And Lonzo and I were talking about this earlier in the show. If you can't have a starting OL and a reserve unit to serve as a scout team, and Shane pointed this out, you can't practice the way that a football team would traditionally practice to get ready for an opponent. How big of a problem is this for the Gamecocks right now?
Yeah, I think it's a huge deal because, they were saying this week, they've got freshman tight ends repping in at tackle on the scout team. And, credit to them for doing that and for trying to kind of, present the challenge that the starters need there. But at the end of the day, a freshman tight end is not going to prepare you, to go up against an offensive line like Mizzou, like Texas A&M, like, Kentucky and Clemson coming down the track here. So it's hard because, you can't really tell them to do anything different. They're just in a situation where they have to make do with what they have. And Shane was talking about, contacting some NFL folks about, just how to go into games with this little personnel. But yeah, I think it's really tough to navigate when it's so much of it is out of your control.
Emily Adams from the Greenville News covers the South Carolina Gamecocks. She joins us here every Thursday to talk football on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. The wide receiver position, you mentioned that a minute ago. You are looking at, obviously, Juice is still out. Shane has said a number of times that they'd like to get him back on the field before the end of the season, but they just don't know. We know that Amarion Brown is doubtful to play this weekend. Xavier Legette is questionable as of a day and a half ago with an upper body issue. I did hear somebody earlier this morning say that they believe that he did practice yesterday. I read he was at practice. What update can you give us on XL? And can you talk to us about how the game plan might have to be adapted if Spencer Rattler is having to throw to four-string and down tight ends?
Yeah, I mean, if they're down all three of those guys, I just, you have to feel for Spencer at some point because, he's not getting protection. He's not going to have any of his, truly comfortable targets. Even, at the running back position and at tight end, it's still guys he's only played with since the start of this year. So, he is really making the best of a really bad situation right now. But with Legette, I think the thing that's promising with him is that he did try to go back in against Mizzou. They did end up, obviously pulling him out of that. But we've heard all year so much about his work ethic and how hard he practices and, how committed he's been to being on the field. So I think if there's any way he can go, he's going to try to. I don't know necessarily that it's in their best interest to play him in this game and, risk re-aggravating things when, you've got Kentucky and Clemson coming down the line. But, they also are at the point where every win really, really matters if you're looking to hit that bowl eligibility threshold. So, it wouldn't shock me to see him play at all. I think if he's even at 75%, he's going to try to go. And just having him on the field helps, even if he's not going to get targeted the way that he would at full health, forcing teams to account for him matters.
Season-long question, because we've obviously talked about, we know that this is a point in the season where it does look like this team is going to have to fight to be bowl eligible. But based on everything we know, the transfers out of guys like Jaheim Bell and Marshawn Lloyd, the ridiculous number of injuries that have been fought through and currently are fighting through are the Gamecocks of South Carolina. If this team ends up at 5-7, or even if they've got to, beat Clemson in the last week in order to get to bowl eligible, what's the attitude about the result for Shane Beamer? What's the attitude about the season from inside the program and fan reaction in your estimation?
Yeah, I think the hard thing inside the program, and we've heard that, especially this week a little bit, it's just that they, I think, internally thought this season was going to go really differently. And I think really up until that Missouri game last week, I think they had a sort of hope that it was going to turn around and they were going to have it all click at some point and they were going to be that team that, everyone sort of thought they had the potential to be in the preseason. And I think now, with that loss to Missouri, and Shane said it this week, a lot of those goals that they had are not attainable anymore. And I think that's really hard, at this point in the season with this many games left, to have to come to terms with that and to have to sort of reset your expectations. But I do think, everything Shane has said is that, the morale is still pretty good overall. I think it seems like the senior leadership is really strong, with Spencer, with guys like Trey Knox, who and Nick Gargiulio, a lot of those transfers have become, really big leadership voices. And Knox obviously saw some years like this at Arkansas. So I don't think it's sort of full doom and gloom, but I think there definitely has been sort of a recalibration of what this season can be over the last couple of weeks. And from the fan base side, I think it's mixed. Some people want Shane's job. Some people think it's not a big deal. I tend to fall more on the it's not a big deal side. You overachieved the way that he did in the first 2 years. It's gonna slump at some point. This was overdue, I think, for them. And it makes sense in this sort of transition year, as the veterans go out, as you're starting to get those big recruiting classes in, it's just going to take some time, unfortunately, to calibrate everything. And that might mean you have a 5-win, 4-win season this year. But I don't think that's sort of an indictment of Beamer or of the program and where they have the potential to go in the future.
All right, last one, Emily. The Gamecocks enter this game as a 10-point underdog on the road at Texas A&M. To me, this is a must. It's not a must-win game for South Carolina. It is absolutely a must-win game for Jimbo Fisher, who I truly believe is squarely on the hot seat. On top of that, I think the A&M roster is just better. On top of that, Kyle Field's a very notoriously difficult place to play. Unfortunately, I just think this is going to be a very rough Saturday for Gamecock fans. What's your take on this game?
Yeah, I think, you're exactly right there that this is a must-win for Texas A&M because on paper, I mean, this really should be a blowout. You look at Texas A&M's defensive line. They've been so disruptive. South Carolina has had the worst time against disruptive offensive lines. Obviously playing with a backup quarterback is not an ideal situation, but it's not like Max Johnson has never played or isn't talented enough to be a starter at this level. So, I think there's nowhere on paper where South Carolina matches up worse against Texas A&M, I don't think. But Texas A&M is perfectly capable of throwing games away as much as South Carolina is. So this might, it would not surprise me if this game gets weird at some point.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Emily Adams covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News over in Columbia, and she joins us every Thursday here on the show to talk Gamecock football. Emily, you are the best. Are you going down to Texas A&M?
Yes, sir. I will be down there starting Friday.
Do me a favor. Stay away from the yell leaders. They're all weird people. Good luck with the Colts.
I'm very excited to experience it for the first time. This will be my first time getting the full A&M vibe.
From what I understand, Emily, Kyle Field is a fantastic football venue. The crowd is going to be out of control. I can tell you from direct interactions, Aggie fans are weird. Good luck.
Appreciate that.
Cannot listen. I want you all to know next Thursday when we talk to Emily Adams, it is going to start with how weird were Aggies fans, and the answer will be very.
I'll get a full report for you.
Can't wait. Talk to you next week, Emily. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob.
You got it. That is Emily Adams for the Greenville News. You can follow her on Twitter at EAAdams6. And please do, because I am sure that within 3 minutes of landing, she will immediately start posting tweets about how weird the Ags are.
Yeah, but you put it in her head now. I mean, you should have let her just see it on her own. Now she's going to be looking for the weirdness.
You don't have
or
to look. They come right to you.
It's that obvious.
They come right to you.
Okay.
I cannot explain it to you. You just got to experience it. I wish her the best of luck. I also wish Lonzo the best of luck as he once again dazzles you with the Rob Brown Show Sports Flash.
It's hard to top what you've done the time before and the time before that, but we're going to give it a go. The old college try, if you will. The Charlotte Hornets opened their season with a home win over the Atlanta Hawks last night. PJ Washington put in 25 points, and Terry Rozier added 24. Rookie Brandon Miller added 13 and 25 minutes off the bench. Much discussed rookie Victor Wembanyama made his NBA debut last night, scoring 15 and 23 minutes. Wembanyama showed flash, but also racked up 5 fouls in 3 quarters, leading to limited minutes. The Spurs fell to the Mavericks 126-119, with Luka Doncic scoring 33 in an offensive display. I don't know if you knew this, but we are your home for Paladins football and basketball. Tune in Saturday as Furman takes on East Tennessee State starting at 12:30 right here on your home for Furman football and basketball, The Fan Upstate. Yeah. Waiting for my computer. There it is. I don't know. If someone tells you something is something a bunch of times, do you see it automatically or do you try not to see it? Because he's been talking about how weird they are. And I have seen, he's shown me some of the videos and they are pretty weird. And since I don't know any fans of the team, I can't say. But now if I went there, I definitely would be looking for that. It's like being told over and over again, that's a bad movie. It's not a good movie. It's a bad movie. It's not a good movie. And then you go into the movie and go, okay, they're right. This is not a good movie. And you never really give it a chance. Chanting while wearing overalls is kind of weird, but you know. I still think, you know, secretly Rob has a pair of overalls, but you know, I could be
Not anymore.
wrong.
I used to. You know why I used to? Because I used to go in the woods
Did
there's dirt and stuff.
Did you have a pitchfork? Did you wear flannel?
No.
Did you have a straw hat?
Yes, I did wear flannel under the overalls because you would go work in the woods.
Did you wear like? Did you like have a piece of straw in your mouth?
From a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Why not? The actual farmers look like that. I've seen them. So
I did spend one summer working, and this is 100% true, on an ostrich farm.
did you have to muck out the stalls? Do they have
I
stalls?
did.
Oh,
I also had to castrate bulls.
all right.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was
that
gross.
sounds like
Hated that.
fun. Did you how did you hold the knife or the other part?
No. So the first off, we did a.
Is there an apparatus of some sort? when
There
you're-
is.
Okay, all right.
We did a cattle roundup, which is the coolest thing I've ever done. There were like 350 head of cattle on this farm. And so we got to do a roundup, and it was hilarious because there were the old guys on the farm, and then there was like the young guys, the farm hands, right?
The whole time you're
And
like, I'm a cowboy.
The farm
I'm a
hands,
cowboy.
the old guys and me did the roundup on horseback. The young guys did it on dirt bike, right? So they would go out in the pasture. It was this huge farm. So, and the cows would always go in the back. So like every few days you had to go to the back and drive them to the front to
It's where the good grass was.
pretty much. And so the young guys would rip on their dirt bikes to the backside of the farm. And then the old guys and me would ride horses out there. And then we'd all work together to bring them back. And so it would be the guys on horseback in a line pushing them forward. And then the dirt bike guys on the side revving the engines to keep them in a straight line. So the first one we did, I was all jacked up because I got to do a cattle roundup, and that was awesome. And then we get there, and my cousin who owned the farm hands me this big metal machine, not metal machine. It was like pincers with another almost like a scissors apparatus that would go down the middle, and they would drive the bull into a stall, and then there were these two clamps that would swing down and get them by the neck, and then they would have to hold the legs, right? They would put little clamps on the legs so they couldn't kick you, and then you use this apparatus to do the deed. And he's like, all right, everybody's got to do one first. And I was like, no, I don't. And then I did. Look, famously, Garnett gets it. He said, Lonzo, I witnessed the weird last season when their fans came to the Cola. Yup. So let me tell you a quick story about why I feel the way I feel about A&M fans. There's two reasons. All right. The first I kind of shared a little bit earlier. My best friend from high school married an Aggie gal. And she's like, if you meet her in a regular day-to-day life, she was one of the sweetest people I've ever met. Her name was Kristen. She was great. We all loved her. She was phenomenal. And then college football Saturday would roll around and she would turn into a psychopath.
Is she no longer with us?
No, she is. I just haven't talked to him in a couple
Okay,
of years.
because you were speaking in the past tense.
Well,
like
because
this.
they got married like 12
Okay,
years ago.
all right.
Because I'm very old now. And so I told this story very briefly earlier.
Emily did call you sir.
I know it's stung like a lot, right? So it's very weird being like 17 years older than journalism, like people who are now journalists, not J school students, like actual journalists now. And I'm 20 years older than they are. And whatever. Listen, so we went to this wedding and her family, all Aggies, because once your family's an A&M'er, your whole family's an A&M'er, right? So their whole family Aggies, and they were doing all of their Aggie stuff at this wedding because that is their identity. That's it. And I'm not judging that because I've got another friend.
You're absolutely judging that.
No, listen, because there's a difference, right?
All right.
I got another friend that I went to high school with, Jessie McCarthy, now Jessie McCarthy Bush. She's a phenomenal kid.
McCarthy. Okay. All right.
And when she got married, she's a Gamecock. Now I've known her since high school, but she's a Gamecock. And when she got married, they paid to have Cocky show up at the wedding reception, which I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. That's fun, right? Like the fiance, we're getting married in St. Augustine, but we had talked before when we thought we might do it here. She was like, I would love to have Cocky at the reception. Can we do that? And I was like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. Because that's a thing. This wedding was an A&M football game. Like the wedding was second place. There was no football game, but you'd have thought it was a freaking tailgate party, right? So they made my friend Brad, who was marrying her, when you get, I think when you become a senior is when you get them. But when you become a senior at A&M, you get military style riding boots, which is again hilarious because A&M's not a military school. It's a farm school. It's an ag school. And I'm not hating on ag schools, but stop pretending you're military.
It's like Clemson, but it's in Texas.
No, because at least Clemson knows their roots. A&M's
so
like,
to speak, yeah.
We're farmers, but we like to dress up like we're in the military. It's weird. So they wear these shoes and they take great care of these boots, but like you wear these boots like a lot. You wear them to games, you wear them around campus, you wear them everywhere. Like once you get the boots, they're like a major part of your life.
Do they wear socks or leggings or
I don't
something
know.
under there?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I hope so. For Brad's sake, because they would not accept Brad into the family until in front of his wedding reception, he poured a beer into her boots that she had been wearing. By the way, she graduated A&M like 6 years past, still wore the boots on game day.
So in movies and TV, when they want to sterilize the wound, they pour alcohol on it, like whiskey or something. Wouldn't that kind of cancel
That's
things
a very
out?
different kind of alcohol.
So the alcohol and beer, what did they fill the boot with?
Beer.
Okay.
Beer. Filled it with beer. Brad had to tip her boot, her roughly, I'm assuming at this point, like 4 to 5 year old boot, into the air and drink out of it. And that's the only way they would accept him into the family. Now, you do that on a dare at a party. It's like, haha, funny. You do it as in you either do this or we're canceling this wedding that's happening right now. Is wild.
So it wasn't sprung on him at the moment. He knew that
like
was
a
coming.
Tradition.
Okay,
It's like
all
a
right,
thing you
all
have
right.
to do. So that's one thing. Second thing, when I was down in the Florida Panhandle, I would travel to SEC schools to cover games. And one of the ones I did was I went to, I think the 2015, 16, I'm old now, somewhere in there. I went to A&M at LSU, right? And I've told you guys, my family's from Louisiana, so I grew up an LSU fan because that's where all my family went, right? So I went to Baton Rouge to cover this game and also hang out with the fam. And one of my dear friends from high school went to Texas A&M. And he calls me. He's like, hey, I just saw you're in Baton Rouge. Do you want to meet up? We're doing a yell practice tonight. And I was like, a yell practice? He's like, yeah. we all get together. The cheerleaders come out, the band plays. And I'm like, oh, you mean a pep rally? He's like, no. He got very angry about it. No, it is yell practice. And I'm like, dude, do you have to practice yelling? I feel like that's just a thing you do. Like, it is one of like 3 things that babies can do. You don't have to practice yelling. You just yell.
It's also a thing you do. So you
Yes.
probably expect everyone
You don't
else
need
to be able to do
I feel
it.
like everybody can yell. It's just a natural human thing. So he's like, it's yell practice. Come out. It's behind this bar, and it starts at like midnight the night before the game. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a night owl, so I'm like, that makes sense to me. But like for a thing, like a scheduled thing, you scheduled it at midnight.
Was there a bonfire? I mean,
No,
okay, it's
this
nothing
is
like
an
that.
away game.
Okay. Oh, all right.
This is in Baton Rouge. This is at LSU.
Well, you could catch something on fire in another town. You could do
I mean,
that,
things
but-
are frequently on fire in
Yeah,
Baton Rouge, but
okay.
this was not theirs. So I go to this yell because I'm like, why not? It's at a bar. Worst case scenario, I'm at a bar, right? And I go, and it is the weirdest thing. Like, it's like you think pep rally, but it's not. They got the yell leaders in their adorable little overalls and white boots, and they're up on the stage, and they're like, I got a story for you. What's your story? I was walking around Baton Rouge last night. Yeah? Yeah. And I saw an LSU fan. Yeah? Yeah. His name was Bob. Yeah? Yeah. And they went on for like an hour telling the dumbest jokes I have ever heard, scripted beyond belief by these yell leaders. And then they start doing their little cheer chant things. All right. Now, I am a big fan, as most red-blooded American men are, of cheerleaders. Big fan. We all are, right? And for the record, I wholeheartedly and fully support male cheerleaders as well. Not only was I one in high school because a very, very pretty girl who had my attention asked me to be, and of course I was going to do that, but the ladies can have somebody to look at too. I'm all in favor. That's all good. It's all dude cheerleaders, but they're not cheerleaders. They're yell leaders. And they do these weird ass chants. I showed Lonzo and Chris their weird ass chants the other day. Pump it up, Aggies. Hey, G. It's just weird, man. And so these guys come up on the stage and they tell these like 7-minute long stupid jokes. And then they do these yells, and the Aggies, they act like it's the greatest thing they've ever seen. Now, listen, 90% of college traditions don't mean a damn thing to anybody except the fans, right? Nothing to anybody except the fans. But I can look at them and go, even though this thing is dumb to me, I understand why it matters to you. I understand that it is something that, as a fan of this school, it's like bred into you to love this thing, right? How many times have I told you the dumbest chant in college football history is gator bait, tiger bait? What is bait used for? To capture, kill, and eat that thing. What do you do with gator bait? You put it on a hook, you hook the gator, you shoot the gator in the head. I watch Swamp People. And then you take it home, you cut off the tail, you throw it on an open flame, you barbecue it, you eat it. Gator's delicious, all right? So why would the fans of the Gators yell gator bait? But it's been going on so long, and it's so important to hit that chant in somebody's face of gator bait, that it means something to you, and I understand that. I will never understand how the yell leaders doing their weird little hand gestures while spelling out. I don't get it. It's weird, dude. It's weird for a cosplaying, not military school, but school that dresses like they're in the military, even though they're farmers, to act that way as if any of it makes sense. Famously garnered in the chat. Yep, that's it, Rob. Same BS they did at our state house last year. Oh, and they will take over wherever they want. Now, don't get me wrong. I respect that. The one in Baton Rouge was behind a bar right on campus called Walk-Ons. It's a bar that's owned by Drew Brees, right? And the Aggies just took it over. It was their bar in Baton Rouge. They were outnumbered 10-1 by LSU fans hitting them with the tiger bait chant. They didn't care. They took over that bar. Apparently, they took over the State House in Columbia. I respect that. I get that. But then they show up in their goofy ass little overalls with Jaden and Chaz, their big old name tags across the front, and do these weird chant things. If there's any A&M fans listening that want to call the show and try to explain this to me, I'm down to listen because maybe I just don't get it. But I've been around you people. You're weird, all right? And Lonzo knows this. I'm Liberop. I accept everybody except furries and Aggies. That's the list.
That's the list. Well, I could throw some other things in there that you don't like, but
now you'll jokingly say babies and old people as if I don't like babies and old people. I do.
But you've never said you don't accept them. It's just that you have, some dislike.
And there's a
towards them.
difference between I don't want to be around versus I don't accept. I love kids, but there are times when I don't want to be around them. Right? I like old people. I just don't want to hear you gripe about how everything sucks nowadays. I'm tired. I don't like it. I don't want to be around that.
When he said that, he looked at me. It was weird. But see, your disdain and absolute, it's like you're freaked out by these people. Makes me want to wear overalls to work tomorrow.
No.
So
it's not the overalls. All right. It's not the overalls. It's the behavior in the overalls. Like when they put on these overalls, these people just become absolute. All right. We had a kid in high school. And I'm saying this because I think everybody had this kid in high school.
Be careful because you never know. He might be listening.
Listen, I would not be shocked if this kid was like secretly in charge of the government at this point. He was the most brilliant kid I've ever been around. His name was John Lakios. Lakios.
Sounds like a government name.
It may have been cover. John Lakios was the smartest kid I've ever been around in my life. John Lakios was like doing like upper level calculus in third grade. This he was a genius, but he was also weird, right? And there's nothing wrong with being weird. I'm weird. Zoe's weird. We're all weird. The show only works because we're weird, all right? Weird is fine. But weird getting to the point where you make people physically uncomfortable around you and then escalating it when they try to. This was the thing about Lakios. Lakios was a weird kid. There's nothing wrong with being a weird kid. I tell all the youngins in my family, make friends with the weird kid because the weird kid's going to run everything one day. Make friends with the weird kid. Accept the weird kid. Invite the weird kid out. The problem is some people make weird their identity. They want to be outcast. They want to be the lone wolf. They want to be able to brag that they are not accepted because of their weirdness. And when you try to accept the weird kid, they get weirder so that you eventually go, I tried to let you into the circle, weird kid, but you're going too far. And that is the entire Aggie fan base, dude.
I mean, like emo kids.
No. I mean, weird.
What made your friend or whatever growing up so weird?
He just was weird.
Okay,
I don't know how to explain it. It's like whenever, like, all right, so there's kid who, here, I'll use an example that's going to hit a little close to home for you. There's guy who likes anime, right? And then there's guy who likes anime to where he wears the clothes. He wears the DBZ hoodies. I'm good with that. And then there's guy who likes the anime and he wears the clothes.
He was pointing at me.
Let me get to this.
And he should because I don't care. So
kid who wears the anime clothes. Fine, whatever. I wear sports clothes. I don't understand the difference, right? And then there's anime kid that runs between every class.
The Naruto run.
Yes. There's that kid. And even that, you're like, all right, it's a weird way to go from history to Spanish. But like, live your life. And then there's the kid that when he does that and he stops getting reactions because we're all used to it, right? You're like, all right, whatever, Lakios, let me get out of your way. And they do the weird stuff, and you're like, it becomes normalized, so it's not weird anymore. It's just like the quirk. Then they got to escalate it. Next thing you know, they're like walking up to the head cheerleader and being like, hoo-ah, hoo-ah, yeah. And you're like, dude, leave her alone. Beth doesn't want to talk to you anymore, Lakios. You're weirding her out. And then eventually that becomes normalized to where the cheerleaders are like, all right, dude, like, have a good day, John. Good luck today, buddy. And then they got to up that. So the next thing you know, they're like coming to class like full cosplayed out for no reason at all. And they got to keep one-upping it to make it more progressively weird. That's Texas A&M in a nutshell. They're like, oh, all dude cheerleaders. That's fine. We're like, that's fine. Nobody cares anymore. It's 2023. Do your thing, right? Do whatever you want to do. And then they're like, okay, all right. What if we dress like we're in the military, even though we're farmers? And eventually you're like, all right, do your thing. And then they're like,
So
all
a
right,
chance they're a militia, possibly?
No.
Okay, I
they're
was curious.
farmers.
Okay, all right.
Like if Texas ever decided to secede from the Union and become their own country and there was a military conflict, the only thing the Aggies are doing is providing wheat and cow. That's what they got, right? They're not sending people to the front line. They're just like, here's some beef and some wheat. Good luck with the hardtack, boys. We'll be back here if you need us. So they're like, all right, what if we put our all-male cheerleaders in overalls? And you're like, all right, it's not the weirdest thing. And then they're like, what if we stood in front of the crowd and we did? It's like, don't do that. Dude, just go to class, leave the cheerleaders alone, go home, watch your anime, and we're all cool with you, man. Like, you don't have to make it progressively more weird just because you need more attention. You don't need to do it. Just enjoy your football game on a Saturday. Stop showing up and acting like this in other people's towns, you weirdos. Yes, I have a vendetta against A&M. They never did anything to me personally. They're just weird.
And anime, apparently.
No, I'm fine with Anime Guy. I work with you. I'm fine with Anime Guy. I've never talked smack about your anime. I don't care.
Especially since the anime is staring at you
all the time
in the office. And by the way, when he does meetings and he doesn't get in my chair, most people say his office looks cool. They do.
Usually when I do video conference meetings in our office, I sit at Lonzo's desk so that it's my wall with the sports stuff in the background.
But when he does it, he gets told that it looks cool.
So
as opposed to
I am fine with Anime Kid. What I don't need is Anime Kid getting in the face of the head cheerleader and I'm power level 7,000. Like, oh, stop, John.
What if
this is algebra.
What if she was into it?
She wasn't. Texas said, I'm keeping a list of things Robs hates. Kids, old people, Texas A&M, Chris Daughtry, Tim Tebow, and Anime Guy. Here's the fun thing. Only one of those things on that list do I truly dislike. All right?
Wait, was Urban Meyer on that list?
No. Okay, two things on that list I truly dislike.
You missed one, Texter.
I truly dislike Urban Meyer because he's a bad person. And I truly dislike A&M because they're like, how do we make other people actively dislike us? And if you know what, that's what it comes down to. If you intentionally make other people dislike you, if it is an intentional decision you've made, then I will acquiesce to that and I will dislike you, right? A&M's like, we want you to dislike it. We want you to think that we are unique, weird, and special. Mission accomplished, Ags.
Can we intentionally go to break?
We're running to break now. Huh? Freaking weirdos. Let's take a break. When we come back, we talked about this with Rashad a little while ago. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to risk ruining Lonzo and I's day. Carolina fans, there's one thing I need you to not do, regardless of the outcome of the game on Sunday. Lonzo's going to refuse to do it. I'm going to try my best.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
The Rob Brown Show. Oh, it's Fight Club because it's Thursday. Never mind. Forget you, Panther fans. We got to talk wrestling and boxing and MMA. Coming up next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
That world.
All right, guys, live read, then we're back for Fight Club. Don't go anywhere.
All right, I never get tired of the intro because those are some of my favorite people and some of people that Rob doesn't like. So that's how. If I could just get a member of the Yell team in there. What's the opposite of the Yell team? Is that like
cheerleaders, regular cheerleaders?
I was thinking like a Poet Society or something. All right, couple big events. One that's canceled and one that's going on. Let's start with the one that's canceled. John Jones is not going to be able to fight Stipe Miocic.
Shocking.
Man, so surprised by this. This time it has nothing to do with drugs or arrests or inability to want to. He actually he hurt himself in a way that you probably couldn't fake. Maybe Jones was supposed to defend the UFC heavyweight title against Miocic, the former champ, in the main event of UFC 295 on November 11th. That's in a couple weeks in New York. But he tore a pectoral tendon off the bone in training. So pulled it off the bone.
Yeah. First off, there's two things at play here. Number one, you can't fake that injury. You just can't, right? Number two, the one thing that has gotten John Jones off the hook for his multiple previous indiscretions is that people are going to buy his fights. No matter what, they're going to buy his fights. He can go out there
I was going to buy it.
Lady and you'll buy his fight. You, if you are John Jones, have no leverage other than the amount of buys that you put into the UFC bottom line. So this is not going to be something that they're going to fake for later promotion for a fight, because Jones Miocic is the fight we want. This is the one we have been waiting for. This is the heavyweight bout that is maybe the most sought after heavyweight bout in the history of this organization. This is going to take millions upon millions of dollars away from this card, because I don't care who you put in that slot. It will not sell like Jones Miocic would have sold. So this is not something that UFC would allow John Jones to fake to push this fight back. This is the fight they wanted to have been waiting for. This is obviously a big deal.
I gotta say, I am whatever is above a casual fan. I'm not a casual fan of UFC. I was really into it for a while, but they lost me this last summer because I didn't think any of the cards. I don't think I bought a pay-per-view this last summer, which should have been their on season because there's nothing else going on but them. And there was no card that got me excited. But the potential of this fight, I was waiting. It's like, we are buying this fight. And now we're not buying the card because they're not on it.
Once we get to me, where we are now with the busiest part of the sports calendar, right? Because you're talking about, and this is me as a baseball guy, but you're talking about the heat of baseball in the second half. You're talking about the start of football. You're talking about working towards the beginning of college and NBA basketball. You're talking about pretty much, and the MLS playoffs. For me, every sport that I love is all happening right now. And so as much as I do love MMA, because very few cards have more than like a fight or two on them that I'm interested, it kind of takes a back seat. Like I'll spin around to it maybe next Wednesday when I've got a day off. This was one that was gonna be a big screen event in the Casa de Love, and now it's just not.
Well, and so we had talked about this earlier in the week when we found out about it off the air, wondering why Stipe wasn't offered to fight, because now there's a heavyweight fight on the card for the interim belt, and Dana White came out and said he thought it would be disrespectful to offer an interim belt fight to Stipe Miocic. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
Listen, I'll watch Stipe fight because Stipe's just
but do you agree with them? It would be disrespectful saying, "Hey, come fight for the interim belt," because in UFC, people hate that interim belt.
Yeah,
even when they win it, they throw it around like it's nothing.
Yeah.
They're going to take the money for it and they're going to carry the belt, but it doesn't. What it means is the champ ain't here, so they got to make it look like someone's repping.
It's a publicity stunt. It's not even so much about we need somebody to look like there's a champ. It's if somebody's got an interim belt, when the champ comes back, that's your fight. Like it's a built-in fight, and you get to tagline it with, "It's the fight to unify the belt and determine who is the true heavyweight." And it's like, we know who the true heavyweight champ is. They're the one that you call heavyweight champ and not interim champ. But so I can see how that would come along with being described as disrespectful. To me, it's just as disrespectful to the heavyweight champion. I think the way you fix that is you go, all right, if you're going to be out for more than 8 months, you're not the champ. We take the belt from you.
Well, when's the
And you
last
can
time
try
he
to earn it
fought?
back.
I mean, so cumulatively, it will be over a year, I think, maybe even more than that since he's
Yeah, because
defended the belt.
like an 8-month recovery period, and then he's got to get back
Well,
into shape.
well, I'm just talking about he won the belt like last year, I think, and hasn't defended it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
I don't have as big of an issue with that, especially at the heavyweight division, because those guys are beating the dog snot out of each other. So it's going to take longer to recover than some of the smaller, some of the lighter divisions will. So I don't necessarily need, like, I think a heavyweight champ defending a belt once a year or maybe once every 8 months is probably fine. But like I said, to me, the big thing here is this is a UFC card that was good enough to justify putting it on the big screen over whatever football games are happening that weekend. And now it's not.
All right. Speaking of something happening this weekend, I am of the opinion, because I'm not a boxing purist and Rob is, and there's no doubt there that there's a difference between that. Some novelty fights have to happen to put boxing on the front burner, because just regular boxing is not doing it for people. And it's unfortunate, because boxing is one of the oldest sports. And there was a time when during its height, everyone was watching it, and it's just not like that anymore. But this weekend, wife's out of town. There might be a chance that I might put some money down and buy, not bets.
Oh, I thought you were about to tell me you wanted to throw. I'll
No,
say I got
no,
a guy.
No. His eyes lit up. No, it's all about buying a pay-per-view,
I
because
finally won Lonzo over to the dark side.
Tyson Fury fights this weekend, but he's fighting Francis Ngannou. And the odds are out there now. Fury is a 1,400 betting favorite.
Oh, God.
While Ngannou is priced at plus 750.
Oh, God.
Yeah. The over-under for total rounds finished is 4.5, with the under priced at minus 130.
Okay,
and
that's
the
fair.
over listed at plus 100. So there you go.
So look, it really comes down to this.
My wife says, I can listen from anywhere. And I know what you're doing. But in truth, this fight won't happen till like 1:30 in the morning. And there ain't no way I'm up at 1:30. So
I will be watching this fight. Now, I am a boxing purist.
I'm very interested in this fight, because if anyone has a shot at knocking out a real boxer, it might be Francis Ngannou.
Listen, when Deontay Wilder, when the Bronze Bomber was he knocked Tyson Fury down a couple of times with some of the biggest shots I've seen. And I've been following Deontay Wilder for 10 years now. He's from down in Alabama, not too far from where I grew up. I've been following Wilder for a while. That dude is one of the hardest punchers that you have seen in the heavyweight division in a very long time. He knocked Fury down twice, which I think he's one of two guys that have ever knocked Fury down. And he just knocked him down. He didn't come close to turning the lights out. He didn't really daze him. He just hit him hard enough to knock him down. Francis Ngannou hits harder than Deontay Wilder. So if there has ever been a guy standing across from Tyson Fury that I genuinely think has knockout power enough to get Tyson Fury, it's him. The problem is, and
so this is not a Logan Paul fight. This is going to be.
It is. Hang on.
Is it?
It is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Because Francis Ngannou is not a boxer. I think people look at combat sports and think, if you can do an MMA, you can box. And if you box, you can do an MMA. They are wildly different. The form is different. The tactics are different. The approach is different. The punches are different at their core. So just because you have knockout power as an MMA fighter does not mean that you are going to translate to understanding the science of boxing, the art of boxing. Now, what this comes down to me is what we in the business call a puncher's chance. It's a puncher's chance. Do I think Francis Ngannou is going to have anywhere close, even with all this time to train? Is he going to have the technical ability to box Tyson Fury? No. You are looking for one thing and one thing alone. Does Fury open the door long enough for Ngannou to throw that punch? And the answer is probably not, because Tyson Fury has been punched in the face a lot of times, and he's very good at understanding not just how to close that door, but when that punch is coming. There is a science to absorbing that punch.
When's the last time Tyson Fury fought?
Fair question.
Age might be catching up with him, and he might have lost a step, maybe lost a little bit of his vision.
Which is why if he was fighting a if he was fighting a boxer, if he was fighting a Deontay Wilder in their prime right now, then I think the fact that Ngannou is plus, would you say 750?
Yes.
Plus 750 in boxing terms means this dude ain't got a chance. That is 7.5 to 1.
But we have seen his knockout power and know that he has it.
As an MMA fighter, and I agree. That's why I said it's a puncher's chance.
I think if you punch someone in the head and they go to sleep, it doesn't matter if it's MMA
again,
or boxing.
Here's the thing. There is one element.
Does glove size come into play?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. I will go with this. Tyson Fury has eaten punches from some of the heaviest hitters of the past 10 years. Deontay Wilder being, to me, first and foremost. And none of them have been able to turn out the lights. And those are boxers who know how to throw punches to a boxer to land the best shot. Francis Ngannou, I'm sure, has been going through extensive boxing training, but that is not the years and years and years that Tyson Fury has under his belt. Francis Ngannou, if he wins this fight, it is going to be the biggest upset of a major heavyweight. I am actually shocked that Tyson Fury took this fight, because if there is anybody who can lucky shot him to death, it's going to be Francis Ngannou.
I didn't check out the purse, but I'm guessing the purse is going to be nice. All right, I got to throw in one wrestling thing before we take a break, and we're going to give tickets away. So
you're not going to give me Jake is actually going to MMA fight Nate Diaz?
No, we do not have time. We're going to give tickets away, but there's something more important than that. Last night, Tony Khan gave Sting a gift. The gift was suddenly you hear the sounding of 2001 and Ric Flair is in AEW. Now, he's not going to wrestle, but Ric Flair is in AEW. And is he the first surprise that's going to happen on Sting's farewell tour? Then Christian came out and Christian said, and I quote, "There's no God. If there was a God, Ric Flair would have died 20 years ago." So there we go.
Hey, Andrade, how's your dad-in-law?
All right. So we need to give tickets away as we go to break.
We do, to the Ingles Asheville Basketball Classic, which is taking place on November 10th and 12th. Not 10th, 11th, 12th. There are 2 games on the 10th. 2 days later on the 12th, there are 2 more games. Clemson is involved in this. UAB is going to be there. We have 2 tickets for both days for one winner, and that winner is going to be caller number 3. Caller number 3 right now. You are winning a pair of tickets to the November 10th session, 2 games. You are winning a pair of tickets to the November 12th session, 2 games. And you are going to win them if you are caller number 3 right now to 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663 is the number. Caller number 3 is winning 2 tickets to the Ingles Asheville Basketball Classic at Harrah's Cherokee Casino. Caller number 3 right now on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, dudes and dudettes, we're going to step away a minute while Alonzo gets some sensitive information, and we'll be right back.
them after the show. I'm usually like, and there'll be football on.
Yeah.
And again, that fight won't happen till like 1 a.m. probably. I don't know what the undercard is, but
I don't either.
I didn't look that close because I
hope
yeah.
Nate Diaz just destroys Jake Paul.
Oh, he probably will, even though Jake Paul's been but it'd be harder to hide that stipulation that we believe they have about not knocking someone out.
Yeah.
You can't hide that in
Not
MMA.
submit a guy.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could. WWE, AEW. I mean, even though they're using submissions, they're not tightening that arm bar like they could.
Yeah.
But still. Might be worth watching that though, more so than the boxing thing. Just because you want to see him get hurt or be in pain, because you can't.
I don't want to see a guy get
Yeah,
hurt.
you
But wanna
can't
see
be.
a guy hurt.
You can't be do an MMA fight and not be in some kind of pain. Let's get knocked out, like Ben Askren when he got knocked out and like
Yeah.
that. I don't know that he felt anything. He was just done.
Just so you know, I'm not playing. The Madre was listening down in the Pensacola, my cola. And she said she showed up to drop my nephew off at school and one of the teachers was wearing an A&M uniform. And my response to her was, and I quote, keep my nephew away from her. All right. This is not a joke. Panther fans, I'm going to say this real quick. We'll get more in depth into this tomorrow. Sunday, Bryce Young and the Panthers will be taking on CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. I am begging you. I am pleading with you. Please do not fall into the trap of thinking that this game is a referendum on QB versus QB. You heard Rashad on a little while ago. Rashad Beard said, hey, if you look at the roster top to bottom, up and down, the Houston Texans have a better football team. And that is categorically true. All right. There are a couple of spots where the Panthers might, in a position, not a unit, have a better team than the Houston Texans.
I really want to leave the show a little bit early because you're trying to tell fans how they should act, and it's not going to be. There might be some rational people out there that go, yeah, this isn't, you compare them and all that kind of stuff. But the crazy fans, they already are making this decision, and they made it before we get there anyway. Now, if Bryce shows up and just totally destroys them, that's the only way it goes well. That's the only way it goes well is if Bryce has better numbers and they actually win the game. Because if they don't,
that can't be correct.
You're cautioning because you know what's going to happen.
No, I'm not. That first off, that can't be correct because every time we talk quarterbacks, you say, well, he's got more wins or he's got more losses. So that means that if Bryce wins this game by a point with worse numbers, then I should be able to say, see, Bryce beat CJ, so he's better. Right? But that's not what we're going to say.
For a lot of fans, you could say that and they'd be like, okay, we made the right choice. It's a little slow process. He's going to get there. This would mean you got to win this game. He has to win. Not only does he have to win this game, he has to show up and play like he did for the first 3 or 4 series last time they were on the field for an entire game.
I do not for a second think that this game is one that we should look at and go, this is a referendum. If CJ wins this game, despite the fact that it is not Bryce v. CJ, it is the Houston Texans versus the Carolina Panthers.
Can you project rationality onto someone else? Can you project rational thought into someone else's head? No, you cannot.
No, I cannot, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't try, right? If I go out and I meet a flat
Give it the
earther,
old Texas A&M college try.
Yeah. If I go out and I meet someone who believes the earth is flat and is trying to convince people that the earth is flat, I cannot help but look them in the face and go, you're wrong. And here is the litany of testable, tangible scientific evidence to prove that you are wrong, up to including get on an airplane, you clown. All right. It doesn't mean I'm not going to stop. That person is not capable of rationality and logic, because if they were, they wouldn't believe the earth is flat, right?
And that, I believe, fans at their height are the equivalent of flat earthers.
See, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. And I know that because we have had Gamecock fans in the chat today that have come by and gone, yeah, we're in trouble this week because they can see
how about the Panther fans?
Again, I know most Panther fans have given up on this season. My argument has been there's a middle ground. There's a middle ground between we're going to win the Super Bowl and we suck and I'm not doing it.
All right. Even when you've given up on the season, there's always that team that you want your team to beat, and you still, it's something to root for, and then you can pack things away. This would be that week because of the two quarterbacks and the hype that is surrounding it, which would have been a whole lot more if the Panthers had actually won, a game or two. But that hype is going to be, how many times is that going to be mentioned during that game? How many times are the comparisons going to be thrown up during that game? Because you can't not do that. You have to do it.
I am not saying that it is unfair to compare and contrast the two. It is. It absolutely is. We've done it on this show. I don't have an issue with comparing and contrasting the two. What I have a problem with is rushing to the mindset, rushing to that decision that if the Texans beat the Panthers, it just means that it's all wrong and we're going to regret that decision forever, because I don't think you are. What I'm ultimately saying is, don't sit here and label this kid a failure after his 7th NFL game when CJ Stroud has won 3 more games on a better roster. 3 more games. And one of those was the Saints, so that ain't saying much. All right? It's because all you're going to do, and again, I've said, and I continue to say, the best thing an athlete can do is never pay attention to what the public is saying. It's the best thing you can do. If I was a professional athlete, I promise you I would not have Twitter. I would not have anything but a lockdown Facebook at the most. And I'd probably get rid of that. Do not pay attention to what fans say.
But see, you can't do that in radio, because if we didn't care what fans thought, we wouldn't have the stream up. Correct. Or we wouldn't have the text line up, or the phone lines open. The difference is, by the way, congratulations to Josh Stansel for winning
who's going
the
to
tickets,
see some basketball up in Nashville.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Josh. Here, let me tell you what the ultimate fear I have is, and then we'll ask what the X is going on. The ultimate fear I have is that enough Panthers fans are going to start saying, see, it's not CJ. See, Bryce sucks because he's not CJ. See, it sucks. He's bad. He's bad. He's bad. And you're going to wreck any chance this kid has of confidence enough to point the ship in the right direction.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I would just say that if I was Bryce, that would be a challenge, and I would prove everyone wrong. All right. The first thing that's Xing is Derrick Henry.
Oh, God. They're not. Well, first off, I can't imagine a world in which they trade this guy. Can't imagine. Although I have already seen every major television network jumping on going, the Cowboys should go get Derrick Henry.
There are talks, according to several different sources, that the Ravens are in discussions with Tennessee to get Derrick Henry.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Derrick Henry and Lamar.
How quickly your face changed. Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Because here's the thing. Derrick Henry doesn't fix the Cowboys. Derrick Henry doesn't fix Dallas. It helps. Anybody Derrick Henry plays for, it's going to help them. Baltimore with Derrick Henry as the counter threat to Lamar is terrifying. That's just going to be a team that's fun to watch.
It actually would be a team that was fun to watch.
Hell yeah, it would be.
Speaking of thunder and lightning, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for sure. But does Baltimore have room for a king? I don't know.
100%.
I don't know. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Cheesecake Factory.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
I can show you. It is.
So there's a list going around on the internet right now that's gotten socially viral about a guy talked to a bunch of women and did a survey and compiled a list of places where they would reject a first date. And the number one answer was the Cheesecake Factory. Lonzo, myself, and Captain America Chris Evans down the hall yesterday in the Fortress of Nerditude had a very lengthy discussion about the Cheesecake Factory. I assume this list is the reason that it's trending.
It's the reason, yes, because it was everywhere yesterday and it's trending today.
Listen, Cheesecake Factory is fine. It's good. There's no problem with Cheesecake Factory. It's fine. But if you are trying to impress somebody and you go, what do you say, Cheesecake Factory? That ain't it. Cheesecake Factory is fine for it's Wednesday. It's 5:30. I don't want to cook. Let's hit up the Cheesecake Factory. I am right there with you. But if you are
The
trying
views
to
and
woo the
opinions
heart
of
a
the
lover-
host do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the other person in the room. I love Cheesecake Factory.
I didn't say I don't like it. I said if you are trying to win the affection of a young lover, that should not be your first pick. All right. I love Chili's. I go to Chili's once a week. I'm a big Chili's guy. I hit up Chili's on the way home from Burns games to grab a beer and some skillet queso. But if I'm trying to win over a young lady, I'm not hitting her with, what do you say to some Chili's?
Hey, girl, Cheesecake Factory. You in?
However, if a woman
Yeah.
says to me, it's our first date, take me to Chili's, ball game, bro. I'm off the market. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's
He
it.
is off the market. by
I am
the
off
way.
the market.
Yeah.
You know why? Because she suggests Chili's like once a week, and I'm here for it. That's it for us. Tomorrow we break down all the games. We'll have the quad box, cash in and lock in. My bet, or clock in and lock in, whatever we call it. You will cash in. All that more coming up on the Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate later. Yeah.
Sorry, Cheesecake Factory. We just got kind of,
Jesse, compare the rosters tonight. Come back tomorrow and hit me up with your thoughts.
Yeah, come with a
Sincerely.
chart. Bring a chart. He
chart.
loves charts.
I love charts. Who doesn't love a chart?
I don't.
I love a chart. Come tomorrow with a chart, Jesse, and let me know what you think. Big chart guy over here. Hey, that's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. I'm going home to make another TikTok. Yay. I might put a chart in it.
Maybe he'll run by Chili's on the way.
I got to tell you, I want Chili's now. You're giving me, for the price of a regular beer everywhere else, a 2-time beer and skillet queso. And by the way, secret. When you get the skillet queso at Chili's, ask if they don't mind sprinkling a little cheese over the top and letting that cheese melt into it. Ball game, my dudes. It's a game changer, my friends. You're welcome in advance. Have a lovely day, everybody. Goodbye.
Where's the Chili's at that you go to?
Wade Hampton.
Okay. So